A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
And now, the Goldbergs. Well, Molly Goldberg has a plan. One of those delicate, persuasive plans for disentangling the emotional commitments of other people. And like all such plans, it depends on factors which can't be measured or even controlled. But it's the only way out for the four people involved. Edward Way believes Oriane's going to marry him, and she can't bring herself to make him understand that she really doesn't love him. It's because Way has made so much out of this privilege, because it means a recapture of confidence on the part of the man who lost everything the day he entered prison. But now, Way's former wife is in town, and the violent, twisted past is coming to a head. Way attempted to stop it by telling the former Mrs. Way that he was marrying Oriane. And now he's very satisfied. In fact, he's singing. Listen.
Yes, Ma.
Who is singing so pleasantly?
It's Mr. Way, Cora.
Is he going to the movies with us?
No.
Who asked him?
Oriane. He's going to stay at home with David.
Where's your dear mother? Isn't she ready yet?
Ma! Coming here.
I don't like to come into the middle of a newsreel, Molly.
I'm coming.
Well, Pa, you ready?
We are waiting for your dear mother.
Your dear mother is right here. Don't wait for your dear mother. Where's Oriane, Pamela?
She's out here, Ma.
So start walking slowly, darling, please. I'll be with you directly.
Come on, Rosie.
I'm waiting for Mama. Go, Rosalie, go.
I'll wait for you, Ma.
Afraid you'll miss something, Rosie?
Maybe.
Quiet.
Wait, Papa, do the quiet, please. All right, Pamela, please, dear. We'll be along momentarily.
All right.
Please. Rosie, darling. Rosie, darling. You'll fix my shoelaces, will
All right,
dear?
Ma.
No more shoelacing shoes for me. Such a bother. A strap and a buckle, and I'm going to be dressed in this way. I got to put in laces, and my laces break. Just make me a double bow, darling.
I know,
Here.
Ma.
Here.
I'll do it.
Put down your coat, Jake, dear, please.
All right,
Go,
Molly.
dear. Go, dear, please.
I can't, Ma. Wait.
Take my other foot.
Yeah, give me.
Uh-huh.
See
Yes.
what love does to a man, huh, Molly?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Rosalie, darling. My coat, dear, and my hat, and I'm ready. You go, darling. Just standing with your coat.
I'll wait, Ma.
Why should you wait? You who to family, he'll wait for you.
I'm not going to the movies, Ma, unless you go.
Of course I'm going. Come just...
What are you dilly-dallying for, Molly?
To put my hat on for some dilly-dallying.
You want to speak to Mr. Wade personally? Say so. Wait for me, Rosie. I'll accompany you.
That's clear. Go, Rosie. I have to talk to Papa.
Uh-huh. So something is already.
I'll wait on the porch. Wait on the porch, but button up your neck. I
So what is it?
will. Say yes. Then I had a plan. You didn't want to listen to my plan, so I had to go to Dr. Cater Sr. to talk about my plan. Did I not? Well, so I went, and then I'm very much involved. That I must tell you.
Is that something new for me to endure? What's your involvement?
Mr. Ray is singing, huh? You think he's happy, huh?
So?
So if my plan works out, so everybody will be happy.
So let me hear.
Jake, you tell me what would make Mr. Ray, what would make Mr. Ray, would make Mr. Ray happy.
To be married to Oriane.
Oh, well, that's what he thinks also.
Oh, I see. And what do you think?
A clear conscience.
You have them for sale, Molly.
No, but just the
But
same.
what? But what?
If Mr. Ray could pay back all the people he took money from, wouldn't that be in exchange for a clear conscience?
Where is he going to get that money from?
From his former wife.
How is that going to be done?
That's my plan, and that's what I got. We're going to the movies, Mr. Ray.
Oh, have a good time.
Thank you, we will.
I will be late.
Yes. Go, Jake, dear. I have to wind up the clock.
All right. Well, toodle-doo.
Toodle-doo, dear.
Good night.
Night. Good night. And don't walk too progressive so I can catch up with you.
Then hurry, Molly.
Yes. I'll just wind the clock and then I'll go. I'm not so much for the movies anyway, and unless, of course, it's a story with an idea, something that shows you something. I mean, how shall I say, a way to live. I don't know. I want some picture. If Rosie was here, she would name it already. What was that name in that picture? It was a wonderful... Redemption. Yes, Redemption was the name. Yeah, it was a wonderful picture. Did you saw it perhaps, Mr. Ray?
No, I don't believe so.
It was wonderful. But after all, life is like a jungle. It gets so tangled up. If a person didn't have a little guidance from a church, from temples, from books, from pictures, and even sometimes just the words spoken at the right moment can help.
Sometimes you don't need words or books or moral lessons. Sometimes the face of a single person can do more than all the rest. You probably understand, Mrs. Goldberg.
Yes, Mr. Ray,
Sometimes it happens that you can't find a single source of courage in yourself.
Yes, but...
The whole world is so bitter and neutral, and you don't belong. You feel it's no use trying. That's the way I felt.
Well,
And then suddenly one person, just one single person, makes a bridge over which you can cross safely back into life. You know, that's what Oriane means to me.
Yes, Mr.
Oh,
Ray,
I can hardly believe it's happened. But it has. I keep thinking it's true.
Yes, but Mr. Ray,
What do you want to say, Mrs. Goldberg?
Well, Molly.
I'm coming, Ray, dear.
Come this minute.
Yes. Someday soon, Mr. Ray, we'll have a long talk.
Oh, I'll be delighted.
Are you coming,
Yeah,
Molly?
I'm coming. Good night, Mr. Ray. Good night.
Good night, Mrs. Goldberg.
You brought the books in the library if you wish to read it. I don't know whether it's old enough for you. It's convalescent maybe for you, I think. Good night.
Good night. That floats and falls from off the twisted bough, to lie and faint within your... Yes, I am.
Where's everyone?
They've gone to the movies.
Hmm.
I'm home minding David.
Oh, nice and domestic.
Very much so. Did you want anything?
Just passing by.
If you hurry, you can catch up with them.
No reason for that. You mind if I sit down?
Not at all.
You can even sing if you like. You have a nice voice.
Amateur.
I suppose so. You know, your wife is now a patient of mine.
You mean my former wife? She divorced me 3 years ago.
Your former wife, then.
That's interesting work you have. Plunging down into the private lives of people.
I'm a doctor. That's one way to cure people.
They have to be sick first.
Your wife is sick.
Only of herself.
That's true. And I've got to find the cause.
Pride, arrogance, conceit, selfishness, too much money. Those are the causes.
No, you are.
That's what she thinks.
That's what I think, too.
You have a good reason for thinking the worst of me. After all, you're slightly involved with my bad character.
You mean about Oriane?
I do.
I don't see what Oriane has to do with the fact that you married your first wife because you wanted to use her and her social position to get ahead. I don't see what Oriane has to do with the fact that you deliberately cheated thousands of people out of their money and went to jail for it. And I don't like to see Oriane marrying a man who hasn't the slightest regret for what he's done. let alone making the slightest effort to make up for them.
I don't have the money to pay the people back, and I can't get it.
You don't need any money to make up for what you did to your former wife.
I thought that was the line you were leading up to. Give up Oriane for the sake of my soul. Rehabilitate Margaret Way. And in the end, leave here and leave Oriane to you.
Yes.
For a doctor, Dr. Tater, I would say that you have less ethics than I have.
And, of course, there's nothing else that... And, of course, there's nothing... Can't think. And there's nothing Chris could do to change his mind in love with Oriane. He does have a selfish interest in her future. Just as selfish as ways.
The story you're about to hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all long cigarettes, brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to bunco detail. An expert confidence man has resumed operations in your city. His criminal record dates back 35 years. He's a master in the art of the gentle swindle. Your job, stop him.
If you want a long cigarette, smoke the best of all long cigarettes. Smoke Fatima. Fatima is the long cigarette which contains the finest Turkish and domestic tobaccos superbly blended to make Fatima extra mild. And that's why Fatima has a much different, much better flavor and aroma than any other long cigarette. That's why Fatima has more than doubled its smokers coast to coast. So, enjoy Fatima, the best of all long cigarettes.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Tuesday, July 28th. It was warm in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch at a bunco detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Thad Brown, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. I was on the way back from the record bureau, and it was 10:45 a.m. when I got to room 38, bunco fugitive detail.
Friday?
Captain, they're bringing him in now.
Sit down.
Thanks. There's the mama sheet on him.
Oh, Gentleman Wallace. I thought he was out of our hair for good.
So did I till this turned up. I heard he was working New York.
Look at the package on this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like a good-sized dictionary.
Yeah. Check the date of his first arrest there.
June 2nd, 1913. He's been in and out of jail all over the country. Lane County, Oregon, forgery. Bum check beef, San Francisco, 1914. Embezzlement, Santa Ana. Parole violation, Seattle, Portland. More checks, Reno. Billings, Montana, forgery, 1920. Dayton, Ohio, Pittsburgh, New York, grand larceny. Bunco Raps, Las Vegas, Cleveland, Chicago.
That's only the first page. There's a couple more there.
Yeah, reads like a novel.
Just about as long.
What's the story on Wallace this time? What have we got?
He reached a couple of used car dealers Saturday. Took them for $2,000 each, and we can't touch him.
Why not? How'd he work it?
Well, Saturday afternoon, he went to a car lot on the corner of South 3rd and Washington. He bought a 1948 Lincoln sedan.
Mm-hmm.
Showed him his identification, wrote a check for $1,500 for a down payment, and drove away.
Another bum check deal.
That's a little more than that. About 45 minutes after he left, he drove into another used car lot 2 blocks away from the place where he bought the Lincoln.
Yeah.
Told the salesman there that he didn't like the car and he wanted to trade it in on another one.
Mm-hmm.
The salesman offered him $900 less than he paid for it. Wallace accepted and offered them a personal check to cover the balance.
And the salesman went for it?
Almost. Wallace seemed so anxious to get rid of the car that the clerk got suspicious, but it was late Saturday and he couldn't call the bank on Wallace's check.
So he called the place where Wallace bought the car.
That's right. We found out that the sale was made less than an hour before and that Wallace had given them his personal check for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 2 used car dealers got on the phone, decided that Wallace was pulling a fast hustle, Called the cop and had him jailed. Mm-hmm. Hold that light a minute, will you?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Yeah, then what?
Well, when the banks opened Monday morning, they called about Wallace's account. He had enough money in to cover both checks. Wallace got a lawyer and threatened suit against the 2 car dealers. He had both of them cold. They settled out of court for $2,000 apiece.
Quick deal. Sounds like a master.
He's been grifting for 35 years. Knows the con game any way they want to play it. We can't even book him on a vag charge. He's got a job.
And who's he working for?
Plastic outfit out in Pasadena. Salesman.
Is he registered under 5238?
Yes.
No, just a minute. Yeah? All right, send him in. Romero, he's got Wallace with him.
Captain?
Ben?
Wallace, this is Captain Bryce. Captain, I'm very happy to know you. I've heard a lot about you.
Yeah.
Sergeant Friday, how are you?
We'd like to talk to you, Wallace. Sit down.
Oh, well, thanks. It's warm out today.
Mm-hmm.
Perspiring. Now, what is it I can help you gentlemen with? Always glad to cooperate?
You don't have to give us a build-up, Wallace. We're not buying.
You know me better than that, Sergeant. No point in making this visit an unpleasant one. Cordiality, that's a secret. My mother always used to tell me that. She used to say...
Look, mister, you're not here to get the keys to the city hall. You're here for investigation.
I'm here out of courtesy, Captain. My lawyer informed me I didn't have to come. I don't believe in making enemies, that's all.
For a guy that's not trying, you've done pretty well, haven't you? Now, how long do you plan to stay here in town?
Los Angeles is my home. It's my place of business.
That's fine with us, Wallace, just as long as it's honest. Now, let me hand you a piece of advice. You try copping any more jobs in this town, and we're going to lean on you, understand?
I don't think I do understand, Captain. The incident with the used car dealers, I hope that isn't what upset you.
You guessed it, and it better be the last caper you try around here for a long time.
I had every right to take action against those car dealers. False arrest. They humiliated me. They damaged my reputation.
Here's your reputation, Wallace. 35 years of it. 10 jail terms, larceny, bunco, forgery.
Have you ever heard of rehabilitation, Sergeant?
Oh, yeah.
I did my time. I don't owe them a day. I've got an honest job. I've been off the grift for years now.
And take a hint, Wallace. Stay off. You'll do better.
That's all, Wallace. Just remember, the next time we tag you, you're going to fall hard. You got it straight?
Captain, I've been square since I got to town. I'm not switching. Is that it?
That's all.
Well, that wasn't so bad. Would you gentlemen care to have some lunch with me at the club? Just a snack?
No, thanks.
Sure, I can't persuade you. Club's just up the street. Fine food.
Some other time, Wallace. Goodbye.
Well, goodbye, Sergeant. Goodbye to you, Captain.
Yeah.
Well, we gave him the word.
I don't know how much good it's going to do.
What do you think, Skipper?
There are 2 things about grifters. They never retire and they never change. Watch him.
For the next 4 months, Charles Wallace was kept under surveillance. From his daily actions, there was nothing to indicate that he'd returned to his former profession of confidence man. From experience, we knew it was too good to be true. For a man who had worked the con game from every conceivable angle for as long as Wallace had, chances of his going straight amounted to less than 1 in 1,000. Just as a dope addict is a slave to drugs, the full-fledged con man or grifter is obsessed with the idea of swindling for a living. He loves his work, and he takes pride in it, just as much as a doctor, a lawyer, or any legitimate professional man. He has a life and a code of ethics all his own, even has his own language. The grifter's victims are wealthy, middle class, and poor, and many more than the average citizen imagines. Wednesday, December 1st, 1 p.m. Ben and I had lunch and checked back in at the office.
Food's getting better at the cafeteria, don't you think?
Well, beef stew is pretty good. You got an extra coat hanger in your locker?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, here you are.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, Conlon.
Joe, did you see this report the post office detail sent over?
You mean that Lonely Hearts ad?
No, this is a different one. Real twist.
How you mean, Harry? Let me look, huh?
Here. Barney Grant, that's the name he uses anyway. A couple of weeks ago, he planted a small want ad in the newspapers around town. Been cleaning up ever since.
How'd he work you?
Here, take a look at the ad he was running.
Mm-hmm. Remember, tomorrow is the last day to send your dollar to Box 565, Main Post Office, Los Angeles. Was that all?
That's all it took. Last couple of days, been getting about 40 letters a day from people in the city.
With $1 in each one.
Ad doesn't promise a thing. Just send your dollar. People send them.
They picked the guy up, Harry?
He called for the last batch of letters 2 days ago. Probably pulled out. Postal inspectors checked the address he gave when he applied for the box. They never heard of him there.
Barney Grant. Does that sound familiar to you, Ben?
Little, yeah. Maybe R&I has a package on him.
Mm-hmm.
Friday, see you in a minute.
Right, Captain. Ben, you and Conlon want to check that name through R&I? I'll be in with the skipper.
Yeah, okay, Jack.
Friday, close the door, will you?
Sure.
This is Mr. Sawyer. He's with the Western Central Railroad, Sergeant Friday.
Sergeant. How are you?
It's about Wallace, Friday. Mr. Sawyer has a complaint against him. We've got the crime report.
Gentleman Wallace?
Yeah. You want to fill him in, Mr. Sawyer?
Well, Sergeant, I'm employed as a standards engineer for the Western Central Railroad. Wallace first approached me about a month ago. He said he was an inventor and he was working on plans of a new type of air brake for use on railroad cars.
Go ahead.
He said he'd conceived the idea, but that he needed more time and money to perfect his invention. He told me I'd share in half of the profits he got from his idea. It sounded more than fair.
How much money did you give him?
All I had in my savings account, $3,000. I talked it over with the wife, and the idea looked real good on paper.
Yeah.
I didn't expect to make too much money for myself out of this, but I thought if I could get a hold of this braking system, it would certainly help the company out.
He took your money, and you haven't heard from him since.
Well, I presented the plans to the chief specifications engineer in our eastern office.
Yeah?
I got an answer yesterday, airmail. Our New York office has been working for 2 years on exactly the same set of brake planes.
And how did he get a hold of them?
From the Patent Bureau in Washington.
Oh,
the company has a patent pending on the new device.
It's all legal, isn't it?
Yes. He simply got the information from them, drew up an exact copy, and submitted them to me.
He sold you an invention that your company already owned.
Yes, sir. And I'm out $3,000.
You know where Wallace might be now?
We've checked the boarding house where he was staying. He left there last night. No forwarding address, nothing.
We've got an all-out points bulletin on him. Do everything we can.
Well, thank you, Captain. Sergeant Friday. You have my card. If there's anything I can do to help, please call.
All right, Mr. Sawyer. Goodbye.
So long.
What we're looking for, Joe?
Well, let's see.
What's that, Romero?
On that phony ad the post office detail reported this morning. Check the name Barney Grant through the crime index. That's the name of the guy used.
Yeah?
Oh, this is the package on Gentleman Wallace.
That's right. His alias list goes for 3 pages. Read him again.
Charles French, Walter Grant, Charles Grant, Barney Grant.
That's right. Gentleman Wallace, Barney Grant, same guy.
We got out a local broadcast, an APB, and a radiogram on Charles Gentleman Wallace. For a full month, there wasn't a sign of him. Then we received a communication from the Denver, Colorado Police Department. Wallace had cashed worthless checks in that city in the amount of $2,500, and then he'd skipped town. But before he left Denver, he managed another deal. He sold 30 cartons of electric razors, which 1, did not belong to him, 2, had been stolen from another con man and resold, and 3, the razors didn't work in the first place. The mechanisms had been taken out and replaced with lead weights. Another 60 days passed before we got the next report on Wallace from Cleveland, Ohio. By means of forged papers, 2 well-versed assistants, or ropers, and a fast line of talk, Wallace had sold a Cleveland hardware concern a shipment of 10-penny nails, much below the market price. He collected $1,200 as partial payment for the shipment, but it was never delivered. 8 a.m., Monday, March 3rd. Ben and I checked in for work after a weekend off and found a message in the book to report to Chief of Detectives Thad Brown.
Chief, you wanted to see it?
Come in.
Yes, sir?
Gentleman Wallace is back in town.
Where'd you get that?
Guy by the name of Patterson. So.
All right, thanks.
Regan, have Patterson brought to the interrogation room.
Is that Mouse Patterson's given?
Yeah, small-time grifter. He was running with Wallace as late as a month ago back in Pittsburgh.
When was Patterson picked up?
Last night at a big hotel out in Hollywood. He was working a fast deal.
You think he came to town with Wallace?
I know he did. One of Conlon's informants spotted Wallace and Patterson last night. We nabbed Patterson. Wallace slipped away. We figured that he'd been operating in and out of the city for about 2 weeks.
Any idea what his angle is this time?
I think so. Take a look at this.
Obituary notices clipped from the newspaper.
How do these tie in?
The con artist takes a dead man's name from the obituary list, finds out a little bit about him, and writes him a letter.
He writes the dead man a letter.
Here's a sample we had reported to us. Read it.
William Radford, 233 South Brookway, Hollywood. Dear Bill, I heard you were sick, and I didn't want to bother you at this time, but believe me, I'm desperate. I don't mean to hound you about the $400 you borrowed from me, but we are having sickness in our family, and I do need the cash. Wait a minute.
Wallace writes a letter like this to a man knowing he's dead, and the family opens it and reads it.
And they figure it's some unpaid debt that they didn't know about, which the deceased owed.
That's right.
And the con man collects.
Yeah.
Letters have been showing up right in the middle of funeral arrangements. The family's bereaved, grief-stricken, caught off guard. They don't suspect anybody to be that ruthless, so they pay off what they think is a legitimate debt.
That's a new load, isn't it?
Excuse me. Ron speaking. All right, thanks. I got Patterson in the interrogation room. You question him, find out everything you can.
Right, Chief.
When you're through talking to Patterson, you can start checking on these names.
What's this?
It's a list of all the names that appeared in the obituary column in today's paper.
It's a long list.
Don and Myberg are checking half. You and Romero take the rest.
Right.
Get to those families before Wallace does.
We went down the hall to the interrogation room and questioned Patterson for an hour and a half. He denied that he even knew Wallace. He refused to tell us anything. We had Patterson return to his cell in the county jail, and Ben and I started up to check with the relatives of the deceased who appeared in the daily obituary list. Adams, Connolly, Craig, Denberg, Donzetti, Edmonds, Fowler. None of them had received letters claiming payment of secret debts owed by the deceased. Well, there are more pleasant jobs than bothering families with an investigation in the middle of their sorrow. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. The 8th name on the obituary list was Foreman, Carl J. He was survived by his wife, Jean. She lived at 5821 Santiago Street out in the valley.
We're sorry to intrude at a time like this, Miss Foreman. We know how you must feel, but it's an important matter.
That's all right, Sergeant. Carl was sick for so long. Probably better this way. What did you want to know?
Since your husband passed away, have you received any letters asking for payments on a debt that he might have owed to somebody?
It's funny you should ask. Yes, I have. I got it yesterday.
Yesterday, huh? Do you know the man who wrote the letter?
No, I didn't. I took it for granted that it was someone Carl knew in the Army. Someone he'd borrowed from.
And how much money was it he said your husband owed him?
$400. There's a letter over the mantel. I'll get it for you.
Fine.
Here it is.
Thank you. Signs his name Howard Michaels. Has this man contacted you since?
Why, yes, he has. He called me last night and said that he'd just heard about Carl. He apologized for writing the letter. Said he had some medical bills of his own to pay. I went to the bank this morning and got the money for him. Is there anything wrong?
And he's supposed to come here and get the money?
He already has about 2 hours ago. He seemed to be a very good friend of Carl's.
Ben, you got that mug shot on?
Yeah. Yeah, here it is.
I don't understand, Sergeant.
Is this the man who picked up the money this morning?
Yes, that's Mr. Michaels. Don't you think he was Carl's friend?
I don't think so, Miss Foreman.
But no one would do that. Who could be that low?
You're looking at his picture, Miss Foreman. His name's Wallace.
You are listening to Dragnet for the step-by-step solution to an actual police case. Here, step-by-step, are the reasons why Fatima has more than doubled its smokers from coast to coast.
Step 1. The name Fatima has always stood for the best in cigarette quality.
Step 2.
Long cigarette smokers discover Fatima has a much different, much better flavor and aroma.
Step 3.
Long cigarette smokers find Fatima extra mild. Fatima is the long cigarette which contains the finest Turkish and domestic tobaccos superbly blended to make Fatima extra mild.
And that's why more and more smokers every day agree.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
Yes, the name Fatima on that golden yellow package is your insurance of an extra mild smoke.
So, enjoy Fatima, the best of all long cigarettes.
Over the past century, the confidence man here in the United States has earned the dubious title of aristocrat of the underworld. Among small-time thieves, cutthroats, dope peddlers, pickpockets, and similar small fry, he's looked up to and respected. The true con man does not consider himself a crook or a thief in the ordinary sense of the word. He's smooth, courteous, fast-talking, and he lives by his own code of rules. He never uses violence. He makes his living by his wits alone. Generally, he's far above average intelligence, and he's totally without a conscience. He thinks no more of fleecing a day laborer of his wages than he would of fleecing a millionaire. Because of their carefully planned operations, only a handful of confidence men are ever brought to trial. Monday, March 3rd, 6 p.m. Ben and I completed our interviews with the families of the deceased and returned to the office.
You two have any luck?
Wallace is the guy. We found out that much.
Who identified him?
Woman out in the valley, a Mrs. Foreman. Wallace posed as an old friend of her husband's, took her for $400.
How about Colin and Myberg, Captain? They get anything?
They haven't checked in yet. I'm waiting for him. How does Mrs. Foreman make a payoff to Wallace? Through the mails?
No, sir. He came out and picked up the dough in person.
And then there's no chance of tracing him through the post office. Seems like he comes up with a new MO every day.
We checked out the rest of the families of the deceased on the list the chief gave us. No leads.
Don Myers in handwriting checked the letter Mrs. Foreman got. The writing matches with the others. It's Wallace.
Hi.
No, Conlon. Myberg with you?
Down the hall in handwriting. Checking a couple letters with Myers.
You do any good today, Harry?
Some. We found 2 families got phony letters through the mail. Same deal, Wallace.
Did you pay off to him yet?
Neither one. Told him to sit tight and call us if the guy should contact him again. Explain the setup.
Who are the people, Harry?
Let's see. One's an old fella. Oscar Dunn. Lives over in Highland Park. Other's a pretty wealthy family, Bel Air. Here it is. Elizabeth Secor. She's the wife. Husband's name, Burton James Secor. Investment broker. Died day before yesterday.
How much of a debt is he supposed to have owed?
The guy in the letter claims $1,200. Signed himself William Kilbright.
The letters mention anything about how the payoff's supposed to be made?
The guy wrote he'd contact him by phone first, then make arrangements to meet him. Both families will call as soon as they hear from him.
No, if he doesn't change his M.O., we're set.
Conlon, you and Myberg stick with the family in Highland Park. Make sure they understand perfectly what the setup is. If Wallach makes a contact, be there.
Okay, Cap.
Joe, you and Ben cover the family out in Bel Air.
Okay, you got the Secor's address here?
Well, here's a crime report. It's got all the dope.
Good. Look.
I'll grab it. Bunko, fugitive, Conlon. Yes, ma'am? When? All right, thanks. We'll take care of it. Secors. Wallace just called him.
What's the pitch?
Wants to pay his respects. He's going to visit him tonight.
7:35 p.m. Monday, March 3rd. Ben and I drove out to Bel Air to the Secor place. It was an English-type mansion with a circular driveway out in front. The wake for Mr. Secor was being held in the living room. The butler showed us into the library where Mrs. Secor was waiting. She told us everything that had transpired since she first received the letter from Wallace following her husband's death. She said Wallace had promised to be at her home promptly at 9 p.m. We waited. 9 p.m. came and went. We told her that if the suspect should call, to make any concession, to agree to anything in order to set up a meeting with him. At 10 minutes past 10, the phone in the library rang. Mrs. Secor answered it. I listened in on the extension.
I'm terribly sorry, Mrs. Secor. I did want to get out to pay my last respects, but I'm afraid that will be impossible.
Oh, I'm sorry you won't be able to come. I'd like to settle up that debt, the money that Burton owed you.
I do hope you understand, Mrs. Secor. It's very difficult for me to bring up such a subject at this time of your bereavement, but I do have need of the money. You see, it's my wife. She's quite ill, and, well, there are medical expenses to be met.
Oh, I understand. When would you like to come for the money?
Well, would tomorrow be all right?
My husband's funeral is tomorrow.
Oh, I see. Well, where will that be?
At the cathedral on Sunset Boulevard. A requiem mass at St. Mary's at 9 o'clock.
Well, since I don't want to bother you personally anymore, I wonder if it would be possible for you to leave the cash with the head usher there at the church.
Well, yes, all right. I think that would be the best way.
All right, then. Good night, and thank you.
Yes, good night.
I'm sorry. I know that's not easy for you.
That's all right, Sergeant. It's strange, isn't it?
What's that?
One man burns out his whole life making money. The next man spends his time trying to steal it. What does it all mean?
I don't know. We got 2,600 men down in the county jail. They all think they've got the right answer. Tuesday, March 4th, 9 a.m. In St. Mary's Cathedral on Sunset Boulevard, the final rites, a Requiem High Mass, was being celebrated for Burton James Secor. Ben and I were stationed at the rear of the church. Conlon and Myberg, together with 2 other men from Bunko Detail, covered the side exits. An extra detail of men were placed at strategic points around the cathedral. The head usher stood a few feet from the main entrance. With him, he carried a plain manila envelope filled with pieces of newspaper cut to resemble the size of currency, along with a $1 bill. He had instructions to hand over the envelope without question to the person who asked for it.
15 minutes past 9, Joe.
Yeah. You see that head usher all right?
Yeah, I got him spotted.
All right. Pretty good-sized crowd here. Secor must have had lots of friends, huh?
Yeah. Nice choir. Just wondering, Joe.
What's that?
Suppose he doesn't show up?
Well, that's possible. He might have gotten suspicious.
Could be.
What time you got now?
It's 9:20. Joe, look. Uniformed messenger just came in the door.
Yeah. He's looking around. He's going up to the usher, talking to him.
That's it. Usher gave him the envelope. Messenger's leaving.
I know. Let's hold it. Give him a lead. All right, let's go. Now, let's go, Ben. Don't lose him.
He's getting into that cab.
Come on. Slide over.
You got the cab number?
Yeah, let's move. 10:30 a.m. Ben and I trailed the cab to a bus depot in downtown Los Angeles. We followed the messenger in and watched him check the manila envelope in a key locker. We waited. At 11:45 a.m., another uniformed messenger entered the bus depot, picked up the envelope, and left. We followed him to the Union Railroad station, where he left the envelope at the traveler's aid desk. At 3 p.m., the envelope was still there, unclaimed.
No sign, Joe. What do you think?
It's a pretty fancy switch he's got worked out.
Yeah.
What time's the next train leave?
3:25. Coast Limited for San Francisco.
It's 3:21 now. Wait a minute. See that porter over at the desk there?
I'm talking to that girl there. I don't know.
That's it. She's giving him the envelope. Come on.
Yeah. He's heading up the ramp.
Yeah, let's hustle.
You turn up the left?
Yeah. Passenger platform. Coast Limited.
Not much time.
Come on, run. Yep. Come on, Ben.
Where'd the porter get on?
Next car. Come on, run. Let's jump. Yep. This way. Through here.
That's the same porter?
Yeah. He's knocking at the door to that compartment, handing him the envelope.
That's it.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's locked.
Knock.
Yes? What is it?
Conductor.
Just a minute.
What is this?
All right, Ben.
Now, look, Sergeant, there's no need for any unpleasantness. Certainly we can sit down and talk this thing over like intelligent human beings.
Grab the luggage, will you, Ben? All right, let's go, Wallace.
Look, will you wait a minute, please. I'm sure we can come to some agreement. I have plenty of money. Look, right here alone in this envelope, plenty of... There's only $1 here. The rest is newspaper.
Yeah.
I've been taken.
So have a lot of people. Let's go.
The story you have just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
On June 23rd, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 87, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
It's amazing how many long cigarette smokers are changing to Fatima. Here is the actual report.
From coast to coast, Fatima has more than doubled its smokers.
Yes, more and more smokers every day are discovering that Fatima is the best of all long cigarettes.
Long cigarette smokers find Fatima has a much different, much better flavor and aroma.
Long cigarette smokers find that Fatima is extra mild because it's the long cigarette which contains the finest Turkish and domestic tobaccos superbly blended to make it extra mild.
So enjoy extra mild Fatima, best of all long cigarettes.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
Charles Gentleman Wallace was tried and convicted on 4 counts of grand theft and sentenced to the state penitentiary for the term prescribed by law, with holds being placed on him by 4 other states. You have just heard Dragnet, authentic cases from official files. Technical advice for Dragnet comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.A. Wharton, Los Angeles Police Department.
Dragnet wishes to thank the editors of True Detective magazine for their considerate appraisal of this program. For those of you who may be interested, the behind-the-scenes story of Dragnet appears in the March issue of True Detective.
Fatima Cigarettes, the best of all long cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet from Los Angeles.
Tomorrow, hear the Ronald Colmans in the charming series Halls of Ivy on NBC.
My name's Jeff Regan. I'm the Lion's Eye, his private eye. I work for Anthony J. Lyon, head of the International Detective Bureau. He doesn't care where the money comes from, just so long as it comes to him. He cashes in on trouble, and for him it pays off. For me, it's work.
Here's the kind of adventure you've been waiting to hear. Hard-boiled action and mystery with radio's most exciting private detective, Jeff Regan. So stand by for trouble and suspense in tonight's story of The Prodigal Daughter. And now, here's Jack Webb as Jeff Regan.
Well, this is the way it started. Melody was sitting in the outer office wearing her horn-rimmed glasses. That told me that the client was in with a lion. I smiled at her, and she blinked back, rolled her eyes toward the lion's den.
He's polite today.
Yeah, I know. On the phone, I was Jeffrey.
No.
Yeah?
Why do you stand for it?
I wish I knew, Melody. Buzz me in, will you?
Yes, Melody.
Mr. Regan, do you know, Mr. Lyon?
Oh, well, send him in. Send him in. We're waiting.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Ah, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, my boy. My boy, come in, come in. There's someone here I want you to meet. Now then, Jeffrey. Mr. Carter, this is Mr. Jeffrey Regan, one of my very best men. Jeffrey, this is Mr. Daniel Carter.
How do you do?
How do you do, Mr. Regan? Mr. Lyon has assured me that you're a discreet young man.
Well,
I always... of discreetness, Mr. Carter. The International Detective Bureau is ethically bound to employ sympathetic, understanding personnel, as well as alert, productive operators.
I hope that's true, Mr. Lyon. In my publishing business, I never had the occasion to settle my trust on any one person.
Very delicate situation, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead, Mr. Carter. Everything said in this room is in the strictest confidence.
Well, I want you to know that it wasn't easy for me to come here. It's admitting defeat in a way. Patrice is my daughter. 5 years ago, she walked out. Oh, I can understand in a way. When her mother died, I started sending her away to schools. I was no companion for her.
Well, have you heard from her at all? Do you know where she is?
I've never heard from her, Mr. Regan, since she left. I don't know where she is. But I want her back, Mr. Regan.
I can see how you feel.
International is in business to make people happy.
Now, I've offered Mr. Lyon a $2,000 fee if he can find my daughter.
$2,000. That figures.
Now, you can trust International to find your daughter and bring her back.
Well, then I guess that's all, Mr. Regan. I'll go now. You'll let me know as soon as you find anything?
Of course, of course.
Then good day, gentlemen.
Trust International, Mr. Carter. Good day. Here's your ticket. You leave on the Sunset Limited at 1:45 today.
I do?
You're going to New Orleans to pick up that dame and bring her back. She was 19 when she left home, and any dame who's 19 has a boyfriend next door. I found out that much in 2 phone calls. The boyfriend hasn't heard from her in over a year. But that means she's got another boyfriend down there. Here's the New Orleans address.
You knew all this?
Here's a picture of her. She's just been staying away from the old man. This is going to be a nice piece of change. $2,000 for bringing her back, plus expenses.
How do you know she'll come back with me? She walked out all alone. That means she wants to be all alone.
Maybe we could make another 1,000 if some nosy newspaper guy Just happens to get tipped and wants money to keep quiet.
You're crawling with ethics, aren't you?
Melody will give you some travel chicks.
Sympathetic, understanding.
Better pack some things before you miss your train.
Just in business to make people happy.
I want to be happy, too. Beat it. Call me if...
Cotton boy, here's just one thing I'll say right now.
The most delicious oysters, and Johnny had to go racing.
2 days later in New Orleans at the Roosevelt Hotel, home of the original Ramus Gin Fizz, I figured it would take a lot of fizz to pull away that southern heat, but everybody in the lobby seemed cool enough in linens, tropicals, and seersuckers, except me and a big perspiring man leaning against the CNS ticket counter. He smiled when he saw me and came across the lobby holding out his hand.
Well, I'm really glad to see you. We thought you'd never get here. Nice trip?
It was all right.
See, the rest of the boys are headquartered in E10. They're mighty anxious to meet you.
They are?
Mighty anxious. Delta Cotton Growers are going to make it or break it at this convention. Now, I want to...
He was talking real sincere and bent over to make a gesture. The accent was phony, but the bulge inside his double-breasted gabardine coat was real enough. It was a .38 automatic.
I see. I'll take you up right now.
Why don't I meet you up there later, huh?
Well, all right, if you'd rather. That's room 810. I'll go out and get a bite and meet you.
You do that. About an hour. Clerk.
Yes, Mr. Regan?
How long have the Delta Cotton Growers been in town?
The Delta Cotton Growers?
Uh-huh.
Boy, they had their convention last May.
Last May?
Yes, sir.
Who's registered in room 810?
Well, we have no 810, Mr. Regan.
That's what I thought. Thanks. What do you do with a big man, a phony accent, .38 automatic, and no Delta Cotton Growers convention? You tell me. 2 hours later, in a fresh shirt and a wrinkled suit, I was still working on that one as I climbed the stairs to the Ursuline Street address where Patrice Carter lived. It was one of those dirty, unpainted apartment houses in the French Quarter, full of heat and low-watt light bulbs. The girl who opened the door was tall, black-haired, wore a black dress. The picture Lion had given me of Patrice Carter was a blonde.
Yes?
My name's Regan. I wonder if I could see Patrice Carter. Huh?
Patrice, you're a friend of hers?
Yeah, I'm from Los Angeles.
How do you do, Mr. Regan? I'm Janice King, Patrice's roommate. Please come in.
All right.
Right this way.
Maybe it was because the 2 big rooms I followed her through were dimly lit, or maybe it was a sweet, sick smell of flowers. I don't know, but perspiration began to trickle down my back, and I braced myself when Janice King opened another door.
Here you are, Mr. Regan.
She was young and lovely and blonde, with a burning candle, very dead. Patrice Carter. I just stood there in that dark room, and I looked down at her. I think there were other people in the room feeling the same as me and thinking the same thoughts. I must have stayed that way for 5 minutes. Then I felt Janice King touch my arm.
Did you know Patrice very long?
No, I didn't.
She asked to have it this way. I know how you must feel being a friend, Mr. Regan.
Look, Miss King, I didn't know her at all, and I didn't know that she was passed away. I'm a private investigator. I was hired by Daniel Carter to locate his daughter.
Daniel Carter?
You knew that she had a father?
Yes, Mr. Regan, I knew. She told me about him. She told me everything. Oh, you aren't the first one who's been here looking for her. There have been others, detectives and lawyers trying to get her to go back.
Carter knew she was here?
If he'd loved her for just one unselfish moment, she'd never have left him. Well, Mr. Regan, she's where he can't bother her anymore. She's where he can't ever see her. Tell him that when you go back. Tell him she's going to be buried tomorrow. Tell him he can stop hiring lawyers and detectives to find her. Why don't you take him a copy of her death certificate? That ought to satisfy him. Now get out! Get out!
Well, the whole thing had looked too easy right from the beginning. I took her advice and I went down to the morgue to get the dope on Patrice Carter's death. There was one white coat there, a little man with a bald head who introduced himself as Oliver Fig.
So you're from Los Angeles. So how are things in Los Angeles? What'd you say your name was?
Regan, International Detective Bureau. Came here to locate a girl named Patrice Carter. I just came from her apartment.
Mm-hmm. And she's dead.
Yeah, I know. How?
Might have wiggled herself to death. Did a dandy strip number at Joe Glorioso's joint.
Stripper?
Yeah, you got him in Los Angeles, ain't you? Seen that Carter dame lots of times. Great!
Well, I thought maybe you could give me a copy of the death certificate. I got to take something back with me.
Sure. Glad to do it. Oh, she was a real girl. Shame, dirty shame. So how's things in Los Angeles? And let's see. Blanky. No, not the same guy. Blacker. Homicide? They fished him out of the river. Mississippi mud. Get it?
Got it.
Well, how are things in Los Angeles? Here you are. Carter. Patrice Carter. 731 Ursuline. Mm-hmm. Coroner's report referred to Dr. Emmett Swarzy. Here you are. Dame died 3 days ago of leukemia.
Let me see that.
Sure.
Leukemia? Then she knew.
Sure. You get tipped plenty in advance on leukemia. Any doctor will tell you almost to the day.
Nothing else?
I mean, was there something fishy about it? Nah, all kosher. So how's things in Los Angeles?
Any relatives?
None listed.
Well, that's it, I guess. Can I have a copy of it?
Sure. Take that, and we got plenty more. Lots of people want death certificates for legal reasons. I once knew a guy who saved them like cigar bands or stamps. One whole wall of his bedroom papered with nothing but death certificates. Imagine, all homicides. So how's things in Los Angeles?
Yeah, this is fine, Oliver.
See you around. Glad to hear things are better in Los Angeles.
Wasn't anything more to do after that but go back to the hotel and try to get a reservation out of town. When I asked for my key, the clerk passed me 3 printed messages telling me that a Mr. Lyon of Los Angeles had been calling. When I got to my room, he called again.
Regan, is that you? Where you been?
Keep your shirt on.
Come on, tell me. Did you see her?
Yeah, I saw her.
What'd you say? She gonna play ball? How soon are you coming back?
She didn't say anything, and we aren't coming back.
What do you mean?
She's dead.
What?
D-E-A-D. Dead.
She can't do that.
It happened 3 days ago. Leukemia.
Now, wait a minute. Old man Carter's paying us $2,000 to bring her back.
They're going to bury her tomorrow morning, and they don't want any interference. She was laid out. Her roommate laced me up and down for working for the old man. Name of Janice King. Good-looking brunette.
I told Carter we'd bring back his daughter, and we will. There's $2,000 in this, and you know how I feel about money.
Yeah, I know.
So get busy.
Now, look. I've done a lot of dirty, rotten things for you, but he's an old man, and he's sick, and I'm...
And he doesn't wear dark glasses because it's a sunny day. He's almost blind. Now go on over and get that roommate and bring her back. He'd never know the difference.
I won't do it.
Offer her $500 to come here and pose as Patrice Carter for a week. And she can take a powder.
I won't do it.
I'm calling Carter first thing in the morning and telling him you found his daughter and that you're on your way back to Los Angeles.
I won't do it.
Let me take you away from all this. Come on, let's not argue anymore.
It was in the French Quarter. They served a thing called a Sazerac and promised a very good floor show at 1 o'clock. I sat there watching the piano player and feeling kind of sorry for myself. I figured I had more trouble than anybody else, so I had 3 for Regan. It was about then a tall redhead with a long cigarette holder eased off her stool at the other end of the bar, patted a bald-headed guy on the head, and came over my way. She gave me time enough to get a whiff of her perfume and then leaned into me.
Jane,
Mm-hmm.
Me too. I'm the new headliner. I'm going to dance pretty soon. You ain't antisocial, are you, mister?
No, Red. I'm just lonesome for home.
Where's that?
Los Angeles.
Hey, that's a good time.
And what are you doing here?
Work. I'm the new stripper.
Oh, yeah, you told me.
That's a tough racket. Pick 'em up and put 'em down, put 'em on, take 'em off. 10 years now.
That right? How about drink?
No, never when I'm working. Later, maybe?
Maybe.
Are you sure you ain't antisocial? I look all right, don't I? I mean, I ain't slipping.
Come here.
Let go.
No hard feelings, Red. I just want to see your face.
You crazy or something?
Come on, stand still now in the light.
What's the matter? Something wrong with me?
No, not a thing, baby. You're just fine. How long did you say you've been dancing?
I've been dancing 10 years. Let go.
Oh, hold still. That makeup. You wear it all the time?
That's doing my business.
All right.
You had me scared there for a minute. You oughtn't to grab hold of a girl like that.
Red, you mind if I ask you a personal question?
Well, now, wait a minute. I just met you.
No, it's about your face.
What's the matter with my face?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Oh. Oh, sure, go ahead.
That grease paint and makeup. Using it heavy like that for a long time, it's hard to get off, huh?
Oh, can't ever get all of it off, mister. When you've been in the business as long as I have, always got to have some of it on.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Is that what you wanted to ask me?
That's it.
Well, you can get more personal than that. You're a little screwy, but I like you.
Not like you, Red. Thanks.
Hey, where you going? What about the drink after my number?
Rain check me, Red. I got things to do. I had to go back to Janice King's apartment. It was a sticky, sick kind of New Orleans night. From one lighted street, I turned off on Ursuline, a darker, dirtier street. I stopped, right in the middle of the block. All kinds of people have followed me at one time or another, and I've followed all kinds of people. But this had a professional feel to it. Stood there, listening, remembering my automatic and my suitcase back at the hotel. It only took him a second. He was a professional, all right. All I could see was well-pressed gabardine, 2 arms, and a hand-painted tie. The next thing was a gun butt carefully wrapped in a white linen handkerchief. Settled slowly against the side of my head. One of the well-pressed arms reached over and held me under the shoulders. I yelled at the top of my lungs, but there wasn't any noise. Regan of International was out as cold as a can of beer.
We'll return to Jeff Regan, Investigator, in just a moment. An easy way to save for future security is by a payroll deduction for savings bonds. Or if you're not paid on a salary basis, you can purchase savings bonds at your nearest post office, bank, or Savings and Loan Association office. Now is the time to ask your employer to start deducting for savings bonds, or to buy a bond on your own. If no other plan is feasible, your bank will deduct enough each month from your savings or checking account to buy a savings bond. For money in the future, buy United States savings bonds. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to the story of the Prodigal Daughter and Jeff Regan, Investigator.
I declare you amaze me. When you look at that, isn't that all plain? Him all dressed up like
We won't pay any attention to him, honey.
The next thing I knew, a man in a straw hat and a polo shirt was kneeling down beside me, carefully smelling my breath.
Easy now, buddy, easy. You've been making whoopee. Yep, that Sazerac will do it every time.
Ooh.
You know, you folks visiting down here ought to be more careful. Get your suit all dirty?
It hit me on the Side of the head.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes the side of the head, sometimes the back. No difference at all. Always wind up in the same place, on the street somewhere. Had enough for the night?
Yeah, plenty.
Mm-hmm. I'll take you to your hotel.
Huh?
That's my cab. I nearly ran over you. Your first trip?
Yeah.
Well, you know better next time.
Oh.
Easy now.
Did you see my friend? Big man, gabardine suit.
See nobody. Want to look for him?
Later.
See, what you hunting for?
My wallet.
Somebody take it?
No, nothing's missing. Everything's right here.
Mm-hmm. Honest town.
Oh, yeah, you're so right.
Well, you feel better when you get back to your place.
Yeah, sure. It wasn't quite right. I didn't feel better until the next morning when I got a telegram and read, "Found out Carter's broke. Come back. Forget the whole thing. Lion." And that was the first good news I'd had in 3 days.
Oh, it's you. What are you doing here? She's buried, gone.
Yeah, I know. I came back to see you.
Wait a minute. You can't come in here.
I just did.
What do you want now?
You. Yes, you. I was hired to come to New Orleans and bring Patrice Carter back to Los Angeles.
She's dead and buried, and you know it.
That's what you say. That's what a death certificate says. There's only one thing I learned lately. Don't believe what people say. Don't believe what death certificates say.
I don't know what you're trying to do, but...
Oh, stop it, will you? I know you're Patrice Carter, and I know the girl who was buried yesterday was the real Janice King. And I know somebody's trying to make a monkey out of you and a monkey out of me. Now listen to me. If I have to, I can have that body exhumed. I can go into fingerprints and birthmarks, yeah, and a lot of things. But I don't think I'll have to. You see, Patrice Carter wasn't the type to do a striptease for a living.
You're just trying to make something out of nothing. I'll call the police and have them arrested.
Last night, I ran into the redhead who took her place. She told me what a tough life it is. 10 years of wearing grease paint can be kind of rough on your skin. The dead girl I saw had those kind of marks. The girl I'm looking for couldn't have been in the business that long.
Why don't you leave me alone?
I don't know who talked you into a thing like this, but it's all wrong. He's an old man now. He's broke and lonely, and he wants to see you. I don't know what your differences are, but I want to take you back. What do you say?
He was so off. He hated me. I know he did. I never want to see him again.
What's he been telling you?
Oh, Tim. Oh, Tim, he knows everything.
He doesn't know anything. He'll never know anything. This your boyfriend? He had a phony accent when he tried to shake me down in the hotel lobby. Get out of here, Regan. I played ball and you had to quit trying. It all fits now. This guy's been holding your hand for the last year. He's been real sympathetic. Get out before I throw you out. He told you how to trade names with that poor kid who was dying of leukemia. He told you to send me to that morgue for a death certificate. And he dropped me in the gutter last night to make sure I had it. You know why? Don't listen to this character, baby. He's off his nut. He's a private detective from Los Angeles who's been getting paid to make love to you.
No.
Regan, I told you to shut up. Oh, he was good at the side street work, but this was an apartment. He didn't have enough room to move fast. I let him have the top of my head under his chin for a starter. And then I took a lot of feet in my face, but when he started to cross the carpet pulling for that 38, I saw my chance. She stood there and watched him go down.
It's not true. It's not true. You're just here to make more trouble for me. You're just here to make...
Am I? I thought I recognized the touch. Here. Here's his wallet. Look for yourself. Here, catch. Timothy Conover, Private Investigations. Well? Come on, kid. I'll take you back home.
You're back. How was New Orleans? Oh, I didn't know you had someone with you.
I'll see you later, Melody. The lion in?
Yes, but I wouldn't go in. He's in a bad mood.
What else? Come on, Pat.
Regan! So you finally got back, did you?
I suppose you've run an expense account that took a horse. Well, let me tell you that it's all coming out of your salary. We didn't make a nickel on that Carter thing, and who's this?
Patrice Carter.
How do you do, Mr. Lyon?
I thought I told you to leave her down there, because that old schmo was giving us the runaround and hasn't got a nickel to his name. Besides, she's dead. Yeah, she's dead.
That's right. Here's a death certificate to prove it. Now listen to me before you blow the rest of your cylinders. I went to a lot of trouble to bring this girl here.
Well, you can send her back where she came from, and I'll take her fare out of your salary.
On the train coming back, Mr. Regan explained a great many things to me about myself and about you, Mr. Lyon.
Well, I wish you'd explain something to me.
When I was a baby, my father placed a trust in a large holding company under my name. $50,000. And I can claim it any time after my 21st birthday.
Yeah? How old are you now?
Old enough. Mr. Regan found out that much.
I made a phone call to Dun and Bradstreet, know a lot of things.
Go on.
Nothing more, Mr. Lyon, except I claimed that trust today, and I'll be glad to pay you the $2,000 fee that my father promised you.
Well, now, that's very generous of you, Miss Carter. The International Detective Bureau is proud to have had a small part in bringing you and your estranged father together.
I'm not going back to him, Mr. Lyon. I don't want to see you.
Now, my dear, you're upset.
Leave her alone, Lyon. Now, look. I tussled with a private detective named Conover down in New Orleans. He'd been hired by old man Carter to convince Pat that she should switch names with a burlesque girl who was dying of leukemia. Conover does a good job. When the girl dies, Conover wires Carter. Carter comes to you, you call me in and hustle me off to New Orleans, where, according to a perfect setup, I find a phony Patrice Carter dead. I bring back a death certificate, which you turn over to Carter, and then he walks right down and collects that trust fund, which reverts to the original maker only on death.
And him with that story about being old and lonely and wanting only to see his daughter. Telling me he'd pay me a $2,000 fee. Why, that dirty crook, he's no better than I am. He tried to make a sucker out of me.
He did. You fell for the whole thing.
Trust fund in your name. Well, young lady, you can sit right down here at my desk and make out your check. And then I think that as long as you're in town, you might just drop over and see your old father. International Detective Bureau is in business to make people happy.
That's all.
Did everything come out all right?
Yeah, I guess so. She's writing a check. That's what he wants. Cigarette?
Here.
Thank you.
Why do you do it, Jeff?
Hot in here, isn't it? The air feels good. Makes you clean. He doesn't care whether it's homicide or arson or a lost daughter or just people getting kicked around. He makes money on it. I help him.
You didn't answer me. Why do you do it?
I don't know, Melody. I don't know.
Remember, an easy way to save for the future is to buy United States savings bonds. You can buy bonds at your nearest post office, bank, or savings and loan association, or you can ask your employer to start deducting for a bond a month on the payroll savings plan. A bond a month is good security for the years to come. For money in the future, buy United States savings bonds now. You'll be glad you did. Jack Webb is featured as Jeff Regan, Investigator, with Wilms Herbert as Anthony J. Lyon and Laurette Philbrandt as Melody. Tonight's cast included Betty Lou Gerson as Red, Lou Krugman as Conover, Theodore Von Eltz as Mr. Daniel Carter, Eve McVeigh as Patrice Carter, and Harry Lang as... How's things in Los Angeles? Remember, it's CBS same time next week for hard-boiled action and mystery with radio's most exciting private detective, Jeff Regan, as he tells the story of the Lonesome Lady. Jeff Regan, Investigator, is written by E. Jack Newman, produced and directed by Gordon T. Hughes, with original music by Del Castillo. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
The story you are about to hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all long cigarettes, brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to homicide detail. A police officer is shot down on the front steps of his home. There's no apparent motive for the shooting. The assailant escapes in a blue sedan. Your job, get him.
It's amazing how many long cigarette smokers are changing to Fatima. Here is the actual report.
From coast to coast, king-size Fatima has more than doubled its smokers.
Yes, more and more smokers every day are discovering that Fatima is the best of all long cigarettes.
Long cigarette smokers find Fatima has a much different, much better flavor and aroma.
Long cigarette smokers find that Fatima is extra mild because it's the long cigarette which contains the finest Turkish and domestic tobaccos superbly blended to make it extra mild.
So enjoy extra mild Fatima, best of all long cigarettes.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Sunday, May 23rd. It was warm in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of homicide. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Thad Brown, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. I was off duty reporting back in on an emergency call. It was 5 minutes past 3 a.m. when I got to room 42. Homicide.
Hi, Joe.
Hi. How is he?
He's dead.
Oh? Went kind of fast.
I just got the call a couple of minutes ago. He died in the wet hospital.
Friday, Ben, let's go. Thad Brown's office.
All right.
How did it happen, Skipper?
I haven't got all the details. Guy used a shotgun, point blank. Fillmore didn't have a chance.
Chief of the detective's office, Egan. Crime lab? Yeah, out there now. Right.
Chief Ron Egan?
Down the hall with Captain White, intelligence office. He said to have you wait.
Okay, we'll be inside.
Right.
You want to fill us in, Skipper?
No, not much to tell. Fillmore was working the day watch out of robbery. He left work at 6 o'clock last night, drove home.
Yeah.
He had dinner, then he and his wife went to a show. He got home about 11:30, went to bed.
Yeah.
About 1:30 this morning, the front doorbell rang and Fillmore answered it. His wife said she heard him open the door, and there was a gunshot. She ran to the front door in time to see a guy jump in a car and drive away. Fillmore was lying on the porch, chest ripped open.
You say the guy used a shotgun?
Yeah.
No other information on the car he used?
Blue sedan, that's all the wife could tell us. She didn't get the license number, said it looked like a new model car.
No physical evidence.
Haven't found anything yet.
Here's the ball.
Chief?
Elliot, you brief Friday and Romero?
Told him much as I know.
Any idea what the guy's motive was?
Revenge.
Any leads?
Just one. Then White Intelligence came up with it. A guy by the name of Jake Carver.
Carver? Not familiar.
He got out of Folsom 3 days ago. Served 7 years armed robbery.
Yeah.
Fillmore was the man who got Carver and sent him up. The time he was sentenced, Carver swore up and down he'd get Fillmore when he got out. Hot-headed punk.
Where do we look for Carver?
Already checked where he's supposed to be staying. Not there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a list of guys he used to run with before he went to Folsom.
Thanks.
Let's see, Joe.
Here it is. Ralph Danton, Ernie Travis, Jaime Flores.
Carver been seen around town since he got out?
Once that we know of, in a bar out on Sunset Boulevard. Flores was with him.
Well, how about Travis and Danton? They still around?
Let's see. Travis went east 2 years ago. Danton's around. Still runs with Flores. That's where you start.
Flores?
Yeah.
Okay. Any reason?
2. Flores' sister used to go with Carver.
Yeah.
Flores owns a blue sedan.
3:20 a.m. We checked Jaime Flores' last known address, the old 76 Hotel down in South Alameda. Flores had moved. His forwarding address was his mother's house, 1232 Alabama Street out in Boyle Heights. His mother told us Jaime was living on County View Avenue in Highland Park. 4:30 a.m. We located the address.
No garage here. Wonder where Jaime keeps his car.
Not parked on the street.
Yeah? What do you want?
Police officers.
Oh.
Like to talk to Jaime Flores?
Jaime? It's late. We're in bed.
It's important. We'd like to talk to him.
All right. Wait. I'll go get him up. Jaime. Come on, get up. Come on, Jaime. Cops at the door want to talk to you.
What'd they say?
They want to talk to you.
Okay, baby. Yeah, officers? What can I do for you?
You Jaime Flores?
That's right.
We're looking for Jake Carver. You know where he is?
Wish I did. I'm through with that guy.
Why? What's the matter?
He borrowed my car the day before yesterday. Said he'd only be gone a couple hours. I'm still waiting.
You own a blue sedan, is that right?
Yeah, 48 Chevy. Why, did he crack it up?
Couldn't tell you. Do you have any idea where we can look for Carver?
If I did, I'd be looking myself.
Do you know if Carver's got a gun?
Why, had Punk pull a job?
Does he have a gun?
In the trunk of the car. I use it on hunting trips.
What kind?
Shotgun.
4:45 a.m. We got out a broadcast and an APB on Jake Carver, containing a complete description of the car and its license number. Roadblocks were set up on all main roads leading out of the city, and police details at the airports, bus depots, and the railroad terminals were alerted. All of the people whom Carver was known to have run with before he was sent to Folsom Penitentiary were rounded up and brought in for questioning. While Captain Elliott from Homicide supervised the interrogation, Ben went across the street to check with a coroner at the morgue. I contacted Lee Jones at the crime lab. 6 a.m. We met in Chief of Detective Thad Brown's office.
Crime lab find anything?
Single footprint, that's all. Jones found it in one of the flower beds in front of Fillmore's home.
Is it tie-in?
Size 10. That's Carver's size.
A little help.
Is there any indication Carver might still be in the city?
No, there was a good 3 hours between the time Fillmore was shot and the roadblocks went up.
What about Carver's pals? Did they help any?
Well, Flores is the only one who admits seeing him since he got out.
What about Flores' sister, Dorothy?
She lives out in Long Beach, and Cenas and Burton are bringing her in now.
That guy, Flores, did you question him again, Elliot?
Yeah.
You satisfied with everything he told you that he knows?
That's right. He doesn't seem to be too close to Carver. No record of any correspondence with him while he was in Folsom.
How about the coroner's report? No.
Shotgun, close range, hit him hard.
Well, there's mugshots of Carver. Are they out?
Photocopy's still working on it. Turning out 2,000.
Excuse me. Brown speaking. Albert. Right. They got Dorothy Flores in the interrogation room. You want to talk to her, Elliot?
Ben, you and Joe talk to her. Tell Cenas and Burton to check in here. I got another angle I want them to start on.
Right, let's go, Joe. He must be as mad as a hatter. 3 days out of Folsom and he kills a cop.
Yeah, if it was him.
You got any other idea?
We need more than a footprint. We got to find the gun, and we got to prove that he used it.
Hi. You two going to take over?
Yeah, Lloyd. You and Gil check in at the chief's office. The captain wants to see you.
Okay. You want the policewoman to stand by?
It's fine.
Let's go, Gil. See you guys later.
All right.
Laura. You're Dorothy Flores?
Yeah.
You know why you're here?
Jake Carver. That's what they told me.
That's right. You know where he is?
No.
Have you seen Carver in the past 3 days?
Look, I don't want any part of the guy. He's nothing to me. He never was.
You used to go around with him, didn't you?
7 years ago, before he went to Folsom.
Mm-hmm. What happened to your eye, Miss Flores? Those bruises there on your arm.
We had a party. I fell and bumped myself.
Looks like a pretty new black eye. Did you have the party last night?
I told you, Jake's nothing to me. He's a crazy hothead. I don't want any part of him.
Was he around to see you last night?
I used to go with him, that's all. I don't care what happened to him.
You saw him last night, huh?
I didn't.
This is on a murder rap, Miss Flores.
I didn't want to see him. He came to my room. He forced his way in. I didn't want any part of him.
When was it?
Early this morning.
What time?
About 2 o'clock, maybe 10 after. He wanted money, acted like a crazy man. I told him I didn't have any money. He slugged me. That's how I got this mouth.
What do you want the money for?
He said he got the cop who set him up. He had to get out of town. He took my purse, $48 in it.
Was he driving your brother's car?
Yeah. I didn't want any part of him. I got nothing in this.
Did he tell you where he was headed?
Mexico. He's got friends across the border. Tijuana.
All right. Stay with her, Ben.
And get a stenographer, too, will you?
Yeah.
Scotty?
The Flores girl, Skipper. Carva saw her this morning. Admitted shooting Fillmore. She says he's headed south for Tijuana.
Maybe he stopped off on the way.
How do you mean?
The drugstore in San Pedro just held up. Owner was shot and killed.
Yeah?
The guy was driving a blue sedan.
An immediate alert was teletyped to the coastal town south of Los Angeles in the vicinity of San Pedro. The San Diego police were alerted, as were the Mexican authorities in Tijuana and other designated points of entry along the California-Mexico border. 7:50 a.m. Ben and I, together with Lloyd Barton and Al Chambra of Homicide, drove down to San Pedro and checked in with Lieutenant Maxwell at San Pedro Homicide.
What kind of a gun did the guy use, Lieutenant?
I checked the body. Looks like it could have been a .45.
No chance it might have been a shotgun?
No, not that kind of a wound.
Who saw the guy make his getaway?
My wife did. We live right across the street from the drugstore. Wife heard the shooting, ran to the window. She says it was a blue sedan.
She didn't see the license plate?
No. I got a look at the car before it disappeared. It looked like a Chevy to me.
There's been no sign of it since the roadblocks went up?
Not yet. It's pretty hard to understand.
How do you mean?
Take a look at the map here. Here's Palos Verdes and Clifton to the west. Roadblocks there.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Here's the roadblock to the north, just this side of Harbor City. Another one northeast, near Wilmington.
Yeah.
This one here, outside of Long Beach.
Had 4 roads to pick from.
They're all blocked off, huh?
No turnoffs, no detours. All the roads are under patrol.
You think he got south beyond Long Beach before the roadblocks went up?
Not a chance.
Yeah, it's hard to figure.
He could be hiding out somewhere along the way.
Excuse me. This is Lieutenant Maxwell. Where? Okay, be right there.
Anything?
I found the car off the coast highway, blue Chevy sedan.
How about Carver?
Bloodstains in the front seat. That's all they found.
You are listening to Dragnet for the step-by-step solution to an actual police case. Here, step-by-step, are the reasons why Fatima has more than doubled its smokers from coast to coast.
Step 1. The name Fatima has always stood for the best in cigarette quality. Step 2. Long cigarette smokers discover Fatima has a much different, much better flavor and aroma. Step 3. Long cigarette smokers find Fatima extra mild. Fatima is the long cigarette which contains the finest Turkish and domestic tobaccos superbly blended to make Fatima extra mild.
And that's why more and more smokers every day agree
it's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
Yes, the name Fatima on that golden yellow package is your insurance of an extra mild smoke.
So enjoy king-size Fatima, the best of all long cigarettes.
8:45 a.m. We found the blue Chevrolet sedan. It was lying overturned in a ditch just off a dead-end road on the edge of a grove of eucalyptus trees. Oil was still dripping from the crankcase. There were bloodstains on the upholstery in the front seat. In the glove compartment, we found 2 empty shotgun shells. Ben marked them with his initials for evidence and wrapped them in a handkerchief. The fingerprint men were called. We fanned out and started a search of the general area.
See if we can't pick up a trail in this eucalyptus grove here. Sure has got me beat.
What's that?
The car all smashed up back there, blood all over. The guy must have been hurt. How'd he get this far away from the car?
What makes you think he did get far?
Either that or he's hiding right under our nose. No sign of a trail through here?
No, there's nothing. There's a clearing up ahead. Come on, let's cut through this brush here. Ben, come here.
Yeah.
Take a look. The trunk of this tree.
Brown smears on it. Blood?
Maybe. Look, higher up on the trunk there is the same thing. Wait a minute.
Up in the tree. Can you see anything up there?
No, the branches are pretty thick. Trees go pretty high up. Good 60 feet up there.
Come here, Joe.
Yeah?
Follow my hand. Oh, no, just over at the left where I'm pointing.
Oh, yeah.
Cover, Ben. You all right, Joe? Yeah. Can you see him? Yeah, up near the top. Stay off, Burton. Don't come in the clearing. He's up in one of the trees. Throw that gun down, then come down yourself. All right, Ben. Ready, Joe.
Carver.
Shotgun's over there. You alive?
Yeah.
It's a hard tree to climb. Wonder how he got up there.
I don't know. But this was the only way to get him down. We called an ambulance and had Jake Carver taken back to Los Angeles to the county hospital, the prison ward. We took the shotgun and the empty shells and booked them as evidence with the property clerk. The wrecked blue sedan was impounded. 2 counts of murder were filed against Carver with the district attorney. There was still one important piece of evidence missing, the .45 pistol used in the robbery and murder of the San Pedro druggist. A month passed. While Carver recuperated in the prison ward of the county hospital, we were busy building a case for his conviction. We still had only enough evidence to convict him for one of the murders. Another 2 months went by. On August 30th, Jake Carver was brought to trial for the shotgun murder of police officer Robert Fillmore. 10 days later, the jury found him guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to a life term in Folsom Penitentiary. Knowing that we didn't have enough evidence to convict his client for the murder of the druggist, Carver's lawyer demanded an immediate trial on the second charge. Wednesday, September 12th, 10 a.m. I was called at the chief of detective's office.
Roddy, sit down.
Thank you.
Elliot and I have been talking about this Jake Carver thing.
They set the trial date yet?
Starts next Tuesday. Bringing Carver down from Folsom tomorrow.
It's bum luck. We're not going to convict him on the evidence we've got. We don't even have the gun.
We've got to get a conviction. He beat the death rap for killing Fillmore. If he gets over this one, it means he's still eligible for parole.
Yeah.
So he serves 10 years, maybe. Good behavior. He gets out and he's ready to start in all over again.
Yeah, if we could just sew him up for killing that druggist, we could put him away for good.
I don't know how, Skipper. It's a pretty good bet that no jury will convict him unless we find that gun.
We got another out. Just one.
What's that?
If we can get Carver to admit he killed that druggist.
It's a neat trick.
When you and Ben got him last May, did he see you at all? You think he could recognize you again?
Well, couldn't have gotten a very good look from where he was up in that tree. Ben did all the testifying at the trial. I wasn't even there. Now, he wouldn't know me. Why?
When they bring Carver down from Folsom tomorrow, they'll put him in county jail while he's waiting trial.
Yeah?
Chief figures if we could plant you in the same cell with him, there's a chance he might talk, if you play it right.
No, I don't know. He's no beginner.
Neither are you. If you carve enough of the right bait at the right time, there's a chance he'll put his foot in it.
Maybe. All right, will you set it up with the county jail?
Yeah, and remember, he's a killer. Don't take any chances.
Suppose he gets wise.
Well, then we'll know you tried.
The following day at 2 p.m., I was booked at Central Jail as Joe Ramos, a robbery suspect. Ramos was the actual name of an eastern thief whom we knew was not acquainted with Jake Carver. After being mugged and fingerprinted, transportation officers took me to the 12th floor of the Hall of Justice, where I was booked into the county jail. After that, I was taken down to a cell block on the 10th floor known as the High Power Tank, where prisoners charged with major crimes are held. During the day, the individual cells are left open, and the prisoners are allowed to visit with one another. I was taken back and shown the cell I was assigned to. Jake Carver was already there. He was playing two-handed poker with another inmate on the lower bunk.
Here you are, Ramos. This cell here. You can take the top bunk.
All right.
How many cards you want?
Make it 2, Jake.
Hey, move, will you? I want to get in my bunk.
Come on, make your bet.
Says 2 cigarettes.
You're 2, bunk you 6.
I said I'd like to get in my bunk.
Go on, Sam. Play the game.
Okay. We'll see you.
Maybe you didn't hear me, Sam. I said I want to get in my bunk.
I heard you, Mac. I don't like shoving around like this.
All right, now sit down. What's your complaint?
Didn't they tell you when you came through the door? They bury you in a hole for beefing in here.
Then as long as I'm in here with you, let's get it straight right now. Don't bother me. And while you're at it, keep your rum-dum pals out of here, you understand?
I don't think I do.
You'll be around quite a while, smart guy. I won't forget this.
Oh, yeah.
Chow time. Come on, here it is. What are you doing down there, Dobbin?
Nothing. I always sit on the floor.
Get back to your cell. Chow.
Yeah. See you, Jake.
What's this junk they feed you?
Boiled beef, boiled potatoes. It's a habit with them here.
Junk. Can you buy from the outside?
Candy. Sometimes pie. Guy comes around in the morning. Who are you?
Joe Ramos.
Ramos, huh? Chicago?
I've been there.
So have I. I'm Jake Carver. Hiya.
All right.
What are you up for?
Talk to my lawyer.
You got a smart mouth.
You got a big one. You take care of your own worries, huh? I'll take care of mine.
I ain't got any worries. I got it made. Hey, you want that piece of bread?
I don't want any of it. Take it.
Tell the truth, I never had it so good. No witnesses, no evidence. You can't touch me.
Sure. That's why you're in here. 3 days passed. By playing the part of the tough gunman from Chicago, I succeeded in getting close to Carver. Because of the close confinement, I was with him almost constantly, but he still refused to confide. In a roundabout way, I pressed him as much as I could for the answer without making him suspicious. No results. 8:55 p.m. Sunday, 2 days before the trial opened. Sam, Jake Carver, and I were playing blackjack in the aisle just outside our cell.
All right, Sam, hit me.
There you are.
Okay, I'm good.
Ramos?
I'll stand.
18. Pay 19.
That's all for me.
Me too. I'm going to hit the sack.
Yeah, just when I start to collect.
Always crying.
Hey, Ramos, seems to me I remember you. Haven't I seen you around City Hall?
Sure. I live there.
All right, it's time. Lock up.
No.
Ramos? What's he talking about?
I don't know. I got a headache. It's killing me.
Yeah? Well, let me crack your neck. It'll help it.
No, it's no good. You got any of them brown pills?
Come on, I'll crack your neck. Loosen up those nerves. Always helps me.
Yeah?
Yeah, here, let me show you. Come on, turn around.
Take it easy.
Just relax. Let yourself go.
Yeah.
I'll get my hands around the back of your neck. Come on, relax. Well, this won't hurt you.
All right.
You got to be careful with this stuff. You could break a guy's neck, you know.
Take it easy, huh?
What's the matter? Come on, relax.
All right.
Let me get a better grip on your neck.
Take it easy, huh?
All right, now. Yeah. All there is to it. How's that?
Well, that's not bad. Feels a little better. That works okay.
Sure. Hey, I noticed you had a visitor today. One of the boys in the East?
No. A friend of mine out here. He just got in town. The coppers are trying to pin a killing on him.
No? Who is he?
Max Wesley. A good man. Tried to say he pulled a job down in San Pedro.
Pedro, huh? What kind of job?
Stick up. Drugstore a couple months ago.
Yeah? That's what they got me on, you know?
It's funny. I think I'll get some shut-eye.
What about this job they're trying to hang on him? He tell you?
I don't remember. The guy who ran the store was shot up. I think. Died. Max wasn't even in town when it happened.
Happened in May? Last May?
I don't know. I'll see you in the morning.
Yeah.
Hard bed.
They didn't have nothing on Max, huh? They let him go.
Oh, not yet. He's out on bail.
No, I mean, no evidence on him. No gun, huh?
Yeah, they got a gun. I think that's what Max said.
Where'd they find it, he say?
I don't know where they found it. Go to sleep, will you?
He mention anything else about Pedro, like San Pedro Hills?
Yeah. Maybe that's where they found it. I think Max said that.
Oh. That couldn't be. All right. Understand that. Hey, Ramos, it wasn't the Harbor drugstore, was it?
What's eating you anyway? Will you go to sleep?
Look, Ramos, I gotta know. It's important.
What are you talking about? I gotta get some sleep.
Will you listen a minute? I ditched the gun down there in the San Pedro Hills.
All right, what are you worrying about? They don't send you up for hiding guns?
Listen, I'm hot on that job. They got me on one murder rap. If they tag me in another one, it's for keeps.
What do you want me to do? Talk to the governor?
Are you sure this guy Max said that they found a gun?
Now, look, Carver. Max said they found a gun in the San Pedro Hills. Now, you get on down in your bunk and let's talk about it in the morning, huh?
What kind? Did he say what kind?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Was it a 45?
Something like that, yeah. 45, I guess that was it. Now, let's go. Got the jailer barking down here.
Quiet down in there.
All right. You go to sleep now?
not the same one. They couldn't have found it. They haven't talked to me. Ramos. When did they find the gun? Did Max tell you that? When did they find the gun? When?
I don't know.
He didn't say where?
San Pedro Hills.
Ramos, I gotta know. Wasn't by a covert, was it? On the hill road?
I don't know. I'll ask Max the next time I see him. Is that where you ditched yours?
They couldn't have found it. Nobody could have. It was this covert, see, back on the road.
Yeah.
There was a piece of cement broken off the bottom edge of the covert, kind of a hollowed-out space inside. I pushed the dirt all around it. You gotta ask Max. Ask him where they found that gun.
Yeah, I'll see him Wednesday. I'll ask him.
You gotta find out. They could put me away for good.
What are you worrying about? They haven't paired you up yet with the gun they found?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Maybe they didn't figure it. Maybe they forgot.
Maybe.
Yeah. Cops are dumb. They forget. That's what everybody says, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what everybody says.
The story you have just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
On September 18th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 91, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
It's amazing how many long cigarette smokers are changing to Fatima. Here is the actual report.
From coast to coast, king-size Fatima has more than doubled its smokers.
Yes, more and more smokers every day are discovering that Fatima is the best of all long cigarettes.
Long cigarette smokers find Fatima has a much different, much better flavor and aroma.
Long cigarette smokers find that Fatima is extra mild because it's the long cigarette which contains the finest Turkish and domestic tobaccos superbly blended to make it extra mild.
So enjoy extra mild Fatima. Best of all long cigarettes.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
The murder gun, a .45 caliber automatic pistol, was recovered from the San Pedro Hills, and Jacob John Carva was brought to trial. He was tried and convicted of murder in the first degree. The jury again refused to recommend the death penalty. Carva is now serving a life term in the state penitentiary without possibility of parole. You have just heard Dragnet, authentic cases from official files. Technical advice for Dragnet comes from the Office of Chief of Police, W.A. Wharton, Los Angeles Police Department.
Dragnet wishes to thank the editors of Radio Best magazine for their considerate appraisal of this program. For those of you who may be interested, a novelized version of Dragnet appears in the April issue of Radio Best.
Fatima Cigarettes, the best of all long cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet from Los Angeles.
Tomorrow, hear Mr. and Mrs. Ronald Coleman in the Halls of Ivy on NBC.
The American Broadcasting Company presents Pat Novak For Hire. Sure, I'm Pat Novak. For Hire. I got a couple of boats down on Pier 19 on the San Francisco waterfront.
Sometimes I read them out, but I found out it's easier to keep my budget healthy by risking my health in other ways. So I work around doing odd jobs. You can take that any way you like. But the best you can say for it is that it beats begging. At least you don't always limp. If your luck's in, you can keep a half lap ahead of the bill collectors if you don't let it go to your head. I did once. I helped a guy who owned 7 hotels convince a blonde in San Rafael that her memory wasn't that good after all. The payoff was too rich for my blood. I got the idea that with that kind of money, I could take over the gambling joints up around Lake Tahoe. It took them 3 days to show me I was wrong. I'd worked my way down from the gold-plated joints to a place called the Broken T, where they still recognized a dollar as currency. I was beginning to figure how long it'd take me to walk back to the bay when the help came along. He was a little guy with a pair of eyes I wouldn't trust with anything I wanted again. The kind of quiet, dark clothes that'd make it easy to get lost in an alley. He knew me.
Well, Novak, not doing so hard, are you?
I eat.
You want to make a quick buck?
There must be a reason. Tell me that first.
I'm hot. I shook the wheels down for a flock of dough.
You call that trouble?
Not yet. But I like to look ahead. How do I know these guys like it that I got all their money?
If it hurts you, give it back. They'll take it.
I got a better idea. I want to take it down to San Francisco.
Look, Crocker owns the Southern Pacific. If you got an urge to travel, talk to him. If you got a proposition, spread it out.
I'm driving down. It's a lonely road. I want you to go along as a bodyguard.
If these guys are out to hijack your roll, 2 of us won't stop them any more than 1. They come in bunches when they want to.
Do you want the job, or are you going to talk me out of it?
I'll ride down with you for $200.
You charge a lot for a ride.
You said it's risky, remember?
Okay, here's 50. You get the rest in San Francisco. I see you outside in 5 minutes. My name's Brown. I'll be waiting in my car.
Brown, huh?
Yeah, Brown. John Brown. Want to make something of it?
How can you? He was a quiet guy. We drove along for a couple of hours, and you could have repeated all he said on one deep breath. I kept watching the cars along the road, waiting for the muscle boys to show up, but nothing happened. Pretty soon I got the feeling that they weren't after him at all. I guess he'd seen too many movies. I finished off a pack of cigarettes as we got down out of the mountains and got him to stop at a roadside joint for reloads. He wouldn't leave the car, so I was all alone when the girl came up to me at the bar.
You going down to San Francisco?
Something like that.
You got room for me?
How far are you going?
That depends on who I'm with.
You might be handy at that. The car's without a heater. I don't have to own it.
So you'll keep one hand on the wheel.
So you better ask the guy who does. He's sitting out in the car.
Why don't he come in?
Don't build him up so fast. I got a car, too.
Where'd you get it? Steal it?
You selling medical insurance, maybe?
Why?
You're going to need it if you keep elbowing into my face.
Speaking of elbows, what do you mean trying to muscle in on my dame?
You two together?
Yeah, why?
That's what I've been wondering. Why? So long, sucker.
What do you make of that?
I'd say you're out. You don't have to slide.
You're to blame for this.
Yeah. And tomorrow I'm going to make it rain.
I can start a storm right now.
Go right ahead. You got the wind.
Wait.
You cooled him nice, stranger. What started that?
Bad habits.
Yeah?
Uh-huh. Too many cigarettes. I guess I didn't have to hit the guy. When I was all geared up over the ride, I had to take it out on somebody. Outside, the air was cold and clear. A river made soothing noises in the darkness. I figured it'd be an easy night from then on in. But Brown was having the fidgets.
Come on, Novak. Let's get going.
Where's the dame?
What dame?
One came out here. A hitchhiker. Wanted to ride to town.
I didn't see any dame. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, that's queer.
What's queer? Let's go, let's go.
And suddenly you're nervous. What's the matter?
When I need a doctor, Novak, I know where to find one.
Yeah? Can you find one whose shakes synchronize with yours? Otherwise, he's going to have a tough time with your pulse. down into town, John Brown didn't say a word. When we came across the Bay Bridge, he stopped in the terminal and made a phone call. Then we drove up to his place, a big corner apartment house up near the Civic Center. He told me to wait in the car while he went in to put away the money. I sat and smoked cigarettes and watched the dawn begin to light up the long, empty streets. I must have been there half an hour before anything happened. And then it all began to happen at once, starting with Hellman. A homicide detective with a grudge against the world that he takes out on me. I hope I didn't keep you waiting, Novak. What got you out of bed, Hellman? Can't be insomnia. That takes conscience.
You'd be the sort to know about that. Mind if I look the car over?
Why not? I didn't steal this one. I prefer a roadster.
John Brown, huh? Now, there's a name. Where have I heard that before?
That's a foreign name. Polish, I think.
That's not where I heard it. It was broadcast in connection with a stolen car.
Try again. The keys, see?
So maybe he was careless and left his keys in his car.
Yeah, maybe I'm whimsical and changed my name to Brown. Go on, Hellman. You can't pin anything on me.
No. Give me the keys.
What for?
I'm looking in the trunk. We got a tip.
Not on this crate. We just got in from Tahoe. Nobody knows we're here.
Sure. And if you aren't here, I guess there's nothing in the trunk either.
I'll bite. What'd you find?
A body. A girl's body. I'm not intruding, am I?
Not on me. You better get Brown. He's in the apartment there.
Sure. But won't you be lonely?
Look, Brown hired me to ride down from Tahoe with him. He cleaned up at the tables and wanted protection for his role. It's his car and his girl. Let's get him.
All right, come on. Oh, Brown listed. Nervous. Upset. Maybe you need a rest.
Framed.
Sure, somebody else did it. Shame on them. Come on, Novak.
The girl was a pickup, a hitchhiker. Why should he kill her?
I got a better question for you. Where can I get a lawyer?
I saw a purse with the body. Let's look it over.
Don't tell me you didn't rob her, too.
The purse didn't turn up much. Some keys, a little mad money, makeup stuff. A letter to Alice Stone with an address out in the Potrero district. The letter was no good, just a guy trying to patch up a split. I had a hunch that Brown must have known Alice. That was the only way the killing made sense. I needed to get some dope on Brown. I needed to know about Alice. Hellman took Brown's address off the registration card, and I couldn't see where that had helped me any. No one had seen us together all the way down from Tahoe. Even if Brown were picked up, he could swear he'd never seen her before. With the car listed as stolen, he was a cinch to prove it. Yeah, I needed help bad. So I started looking for my old friend Jocko Madigan, an ex-doctor turned boozer who had more connections around town than the water department. I ran him down in a trap on Ellis Street trying to hold back the recession in liquor sales.
Hello, Patsy, my boy. Join me. This is the first one today.
Look, I'm in trouble, Jocko.
You're in trouble. Think how I feel.
Yeah, what's the matter? Sick?
No, just worried. I was reading in the paper here that the good ship Clyde Harris went down off the New England coast last night with 10,000 cases of scotch on board.
Yeah, there's some left. Listen, Jocko, I'm in a jam.
When did that become news?
I was up at Tahoe, and a guy hired me to drive him down here.
He didn't know you.
It turns out the car is stolen, and there's a body in it. And the guy's disappeared.
Well, I don't blame him.
The body belonged to a girl named Alice Stone. At this address.
10,000 cases of scotch. Can you imagine that? No.
And the way I figure it, the girl must have known the killer. I'm not very sure that John Brown, who claims his car was stolen, is innocent either. It's mighty strange that he left the car keys lying around.
What do you want me to do?
Get on the grapevine. Find out if this John Brown is tied up in the rackets. The same for Alice Stone. Find out if they ran around with each other. Whatever you can about them.
All right, Patsy, but you'll have to wait. I've got to catch up on my drinking first.
Can't you lay off this stuff for a little while?
Are you telling me how to live my life again? You who consort with murderers, car thieves, and women of dubious ways? Push the bottle over here.
Look, Jocko. See if you can put the finger on a neat little guy with a pair of con man's eyes. Black hair, toy mustache, and dresses like Dapper Dan. About 150 pounds.
Imagine you trying to tell me how to live. You who've got more bad habits than a dope fiend's convention.
The guy goes for dark, expensive clothes. He doesn't talk much unless he has to.
When I drink, I get the hangover. All you have to do is breathe regularly, and trouble's all over town. If you had any social conscience, you'd go somewhere and hang yourself. I can't understand how I tolerate having you around.
Will you get a line on the guy for me?
From the way you described him, it ought to be a lay-down cinch. There's only about 10,000 men in town who'd fit that description. Will 100 or so of them be enough?
I want one. It's a long gamble. But try, will you, Jocko?
Imagine that, with the ocean full of ships hauling guano, bones, cattle, oil, lumber, pineapples, sugar, old newspapers, and gunny sacks, the one boat that has to sink.
Will you get on it?
Oh, there's no hurry. It's only you at stake. So long, lover.
I grabbed some breakfast, picked up a cab, and went out to the address of Alice Stone. It matched a wooden house that looked 2 years older in Utah that was trying to lie about it with a new plaster front and a fresh set of doorknobs. It looked like it had been built by an amateur who read the blueprints upside down. A dame answered the door. She was about tie-pin high to a 6-footer, and she had red hair. The heavy, wavy kind that made you think she must be healthy. And that wasn't hard to do anyway. The way she filled out her morning coat didn't leave much to worry about, except the seams. She could talk, too.
Neighborhood's improving.
You know Alice Stone?
Sure, she lives here. I might have known she'd see you first.
Who are you?
My name's Skip Harper, and Alice isn't home. What can you do with that?
How do you know I want to? Maybe I'm a salesman.
Oh, look, mister, you aren't fooling anybody. You look about as much like a salesman as I do a decoy duck. Now, what do you want with Alice? Or do you have to be particular?
I can't use her. She's dead.
A salesman. With 5 o'clock shadow at 10. Did you say dead?
Yeah. They found her in a car downtown this morning.
You're a cop.
You're wrong. Why should it worry you?
What do you mean?
Do you know who did it?
I don't know anything. I just don't like jams. Tell me how it happened.
We were coming down from Tahoe. She was in a roadside hamburger trap. She asked me for a ride, and I sent her out to talk to a guy who owns the car. The next time I saw her, she was tucked away in the trunk.
Why'd a guy kill her, just like that?
That's what I'm after. Maybe he just didn't like dames. There's probably a better reason.
You think maybe he knew her?
Yeah. That's where you can earn a gold star. Did you know anybody by the name of John Brown?
Describe him.
He was playing the wheel at the Broken T out near Tahoe. Smooth little guy, about 2 sizes over a jockey. Waxed mustache, a pair of eyes you could use to freeze fish.
So, that one. I know him.
Give me an introduction.
His name's Brown, all right. I didn't know his first name before. He's a small-time hustler around town. Used to take Alice out now and then, when he felt like tearing up a nightclub. Cops arrest him yet?
Hellman, a homicide dick, is knocking on his door about now. I don't expect him to be home.
No, he won't be. He has hideouts.
Name some of them.
I'm afraid to.
He can't hurt you. He's too busy playing cops and robbers.
You don't know Brown.
I gotta get to know him. Give.
I don't want to get mixed up in anything.
Neither do I, but I am. I need Brown.
Why don't you forget Brown?
I'd be bad manners.
What's wrong with bad manners? I know some that are fun.
Yeah, you would.
More fun than Brown will ever show you.
You'll keep. He won't.
Come here. Will this keep? Do you think?
You have a nice way of changing the subject. But still, where's Brown's hideout?
I won't tell you. He'll kill me.
Yeah, that's a gamble. I'm on the spot, and that's a fact. Talk to me.
Oh, I hate men.
Never mind your hobby. Give me Brown.
I hate you, you big, ugly, muscle-bound.
Brown.
You're hurting me.
Make me stop. Tell me where Brown is.
All right. Here's a hideout, a little shack out near the beach.
Narrow it down.
Let go, I'm telling you. And I hope it's the last thing you hear.
From Skip's place out to the beach wasn't much of a drive. I went up and over Twin Peaks, watching the city and the bay spread out beneath the road like a giant map. The sun was working for the Chamber of Commerce that day, and the whole region was... Every backyard was full of clothes blowing in the wind. As the highway neared the beach, it began to turn up bunches of kids on their way to cash in on the weather. John Brown's hideaway was one of those old pioneer shacks built out near the ocean in the old days by guys who wanted to get away from it all. It was painted a weather-beaten brown, tilted a little on one side, and it looked like something that had been washed ashore in a bad storm a long while ago. I knocked on the door, but all that bought me was echoes, so I made a door out of one of the side windows. The inside of the place looked like something out of a hobo jungle. None of the furniture matched. The best piece in sight would have made a junk man sneer. There was a broken-down setup for poker and a tired double bed, and after that you were practically on your own. The kitchen didn't turn up anything but a flock of ants and some empty bottles. I began to get the feeling Brown must have had 2 hideouts, or else he'd left town. It shows you how wrong you can be.
All right, Hustler. Reach.
You walk soft.
Practice makes perfect. Turn around slowly.
Mm-hmm.
How come you're working without a gun?
Who are you?
This is my place, so you tell me.
My name's Novak. I'm looking for a guy named Brown.
Well, you're all right so far. I'm Brown. Who tipped you off I'd be here?
I don't remember.
Oh, you don't remember. So let me guess. It was that punk Venanti.
Never heard of him.
Never mind the rube routine. You got Hustler written all over you. What did Venanti send you here for? Does he think I know too much?
If I was sent to rub you, do you think I'd come without a gun, start using your head?
I like the way it's working. Tell me more.
I can't tell you anything. You don't fit my blueprints.
Don't get smart with me, Hustler. Venanti sent you. Tell me what for.
If you're Brown, you don't need any new worries. You've got an armful already.
I'm feeling no pain.
The cops have your car down at the station.
What for?
They don't like them with dead bodies inside.
Steady now. Let's have that again.
A dame named Alice Stone was found stuffed in your trunk. You're hotter than 4 stoves. Laugh yourself out of that.
If you know so much, why aren't you yelling copper?
Don't worry. They're on their way. I'm trying to get the key to the killing.
If this turns out to be a frame...
Look, I saw the guy who did it. I'm the only one who did. That's better than your gun, so treat me nice.
If you saw the murder, you can help me out.
Sure. What do I get for it? A merit badge?
Things are coming too fast. I got to do some checking.
You better spill what you know, or else I'm liable to forget mine.
You got a nice lever there, Hustler. If you can back up your talk. If the dame's dead.
Look who's bargaining.
Before I tell you anything, I need to check around.
Just wait a while. The cops will tell you everything.
I like to find out things for myself.
You will. I got a good grapevine in the county jail.
Now do it the hard way.
You forget I have the lever on you now.
Yeah. Remind me to get scared about that. Try some aspirins for that.
I woke up twice before I decided to make it stay that way. The house was so quiet I could hear someone playing the piano several houses away. It was a nice, clean sound, neat and full of try. No wise guys in it figuring fancy double crosses. No dead bodies. No policemen who argued with their knuckles instead of their heads. Probably some girl who thought a blackjack was a card game. I lay there listening to the music for a while, and I got up and brushed off my clothes. Now, there were 3 places I could find Brown. He wouldn't dare go to his home. He wouldn't return to the hideout. That left Skip's place. On the way over, I stopped at a drugstore and phoned Jocko to find out if he'd turned up anything. If you left out the hiccups, it went like this.
Hello, you reprobate renegade from all that's good and holy.
Skip the overture. Did you check on those people I asked you about?
Sure, I found out about them. Old Dr. Madigan and his crystal ball. He knows all and he knows all and like that there.
Tighten it up and tell me some.
That girl Alice Stone, you remember?
How can I forget?
She lived with a dame in the Potrero named Skip Harper. Nice people. The landlord served eviction notices every day except legal holidays.
So they liked a good time, then what?
Then she owns a half interest in a gambling joint around Lake Tahoe. It's not much of a place. They say the roulette wheels have so many magnets hung around them, the nails began to come out of the walls. Her partner runs the joint, and she shills the suckers in from down here.
How'd you make it the wheels crooked?
I have my informants. I have a network of good drinking folk who get around and hear things all the time. You'd be surprised how careless a guy can get with talk when he's got his elbow in a barroom ashtray. Now, as I was saying...
If the wheels are fixed, how come Brown was able to shake the joint down for $50,000?
I don't know how he did it. Maybe he was wired, too. All I know is that they've got better control of the ball than Bob Feller ever had on his best day. It's easy to believe if you know Skip's partner.
Introduce me.
Name's Venanti.
What's that again?
The partner's name's Venanti. He's wanted in 8 states and Cuba.
Venanti. I'll remember the name. What'd you get on Brown?
John Brown? Swell guy. Helped free the slaves. A friend of man. A tribute to the
I've
nation.
heard that song. Now let's talk about the local Brown.
Small-time hustler. Petty larceny stuff.
You didn't get any tie-ins with Venanti?
Oh, yeah. He was up at the gambling joint near Tahoe last night. Cleaned the place out. $50,000. That would buy a lot of schnapps.
It's beginning to fit together.
No doubt your mighty intellect has found the key.
I can count up to 10 if I don't wear mittens.
Sometimes 13, I'll bet. Well, who did what to who?
Brown's got a partner working for him.
You don't say.
I'm going over and shake it out of Brown. He must know where the guy's hiding.
Well, don't go looking into too many auto trunks. Those things bite. So long, lover.
What Jocko told me began to give me some hope. The thing the picture needed was one more man, and a partner for Brown would round it out nicely. Yeah, Brown must have figured someone to try to hijack his role and hired a friend to bring it down to San Francisco. I didn't explain the killing. I didn't explain a lot of things. But it was a lead to the guy who could explain it. I needed Brown. So I gunned the car over the hills towards Skip Harper's place. I began to feel better. I was thinking how Hellman would look when I dumped the killer in his lap. There was a crowd along the street in front of Skip's place. Just as I drew up, Hellman came out on the porch. As I got out of the car, one of the neighbors pointed to me.
Novak, huh? They gave me a description, but I didn't think it was you. The guy they described sounded human.
Your jokes stink, Hellman. Try imitating birds or juggling.
The bird imitations are for you, Novak. You'll be singing to the DA any minute now. Come on in the house.
Ah, it's Brown. Where's the dame?
What did you do, kill her, too?
Come off it, Hellman. You can't pin this on me.
I don't have to. The neighbors did it for me.
Why should I kill my alibi?
Because he wasn't. What did you do with the dame, Novak?
Why don't you try thinking for a change?
I do my poor best. For instance, I think you killed the dame in the car and then tried to saw it off in Brown. Then you caught Brown here this morning and killed him.
What for? Or don't you care?
For $50,000, Brown won at the Broken Tee up at Lake Tahoe.
The neighbors saw me come here. I must have seen Brown come here, too, after I'd left.
Nobody saw Brown come. Why didn't you buy a witness, Novak? You can afford it.
The dame's gone?
We haven't looked under the rugs.
How'd you get the dope on Brown winning all that dough?
Wayphone Tahoe, bright boy. You've heard about the telephone?
Vaguely. Who'd you talk to?
The police. And then a guy named Venanti. He says he remembers you following Brown out. And that the dame was with you, too.
It's a lie.
Sure. But the $50,000 is still missing.
Brown wasn't with me. He was a little guy.
It's the climate. He grew since you two dropped him here this morning.
I need some pictures.
Well, you drop Brown. The dame's going to drive you home. You proposition her on the way to help knock off Brown. She turns you down.
Not those kind of pictures. Are there any photographs around the house?
Yeah, there's some in the bedroom. Why?
Come on, let's look. The way she looked, she'd like cameras.
Here's one on the beach. What's she wearing?
That's a bathing suit. Here's the one. Towel.
Well, look at this nightclub gown. How do they hold those things up?
Thumbtacks. So that's Venanti. Look at the two of them posing in front of their sucker trap.
So what?
He's the guy who did it.
Sure, over the phone.
Did you phone him or he phone you?
He phoned.
You want him?
What for? I got you.
He's here in the city, hiding out at Brown's place at the beach. Here's the address.
What kind of a windy is this, Novak?
Pick him up, will you? He said he was at Tahoe, and he is in the city. It smashes his alibi.
All right, but if you're trying any fancy work...
Are you going after him, or do we waltz some more?
How to hold you?
I'll be around. You know that.
What are you going to do?
I got some cleaning up to do. There was only one place for Venanti to be. I headed the car out Potrero and down Bayshore Highway to the airport. I was betting everything on a hunch. Sometimes that's the way you have to play it. Sometimes hunches pay off. The plane I got was built for hurry. Skip still had her overnight bag in her hand when I walked in on them at the Broken Tee. Venanti began to act nervous when he saw me. Yeah, but not Skip. I began to wonder if she'd ever known how it felt to be frightened. You'd never guess it from the way she talked.
Hello, Novak. Don't you ever shave?
I had a close one just now.
Doesn't show.
You don't know where to look.
What do you want, Novak?
I got it.
Don't be cryptic, baby. It doesn't become you.
You don't act nervous. Does you care about jail?
Nobody's going to jail, Novak, except you, maybe.
I'd be nervous if I had to explain all those dead bodies back in Frisco.
We don't know anything about dead bodies. We've been up here for hours.
Yeah? I had a hunch that'd be your alibi.
That's no alibi, Novak. It's a fact.
It won't gel, Venanti. You're cooked.
Look, Novak. Brown deserved to die. He killed Alice, and before that he fixed the wires on the wheel so he could break this place. He robbed us of $50,000. We had a right to get it back.
Is that what Venanti told you?
That's the way it happened, Novak. There's $10,000 in it for you, if you can remember it that way, too.
$10,000? Easy there, Vin.
That was a little double talk, baby. He was trying to bribe me to dummy up on you.
Dummy up? I know what happened.
When you get through dreaming, try this for a bedtime story. Venanti hired Brown to pick up the winnings while he ran the table. Then with Brown dead, Venanti was going to fly back here in his private plane for the same alibi he's using now. Only he'd own the broken teeth.
You're lying.
Shut up, Vin. Tell me more, Novak.
The plan began to sour up when Alice tried to thumb a ride. Alice knew him, so he killed her. He still needed to kill Brown, but he figured then he could hang the double killings on me. That'd make it even better.
You're on the needle, Novak.
The only trouble was that Brown wasn't home. Vin had to chase him. When he finally found him, Brown was at your place. I don't know what happened there, except that Venanti must have killed Brown before he had a chance to talk.
I was out. I'd gone to the store.
So when you come back, Brown's dead, and Venanti tells you he did it to recover the money.
Yeah. So you were going to double-cross me, baby.
He's lying, I tell you.
See if you can prove it to a jury.
I should have known.
In case you get any fancy ideas about trying to lie out of it, I got a witness to feel the motor of your plane. It's still hot.
A 10 grand offer still stands.
I need you to clear me.
Yeah. And I could use the sole ownership of this joint.
You wouldn't rat on me.
Oh, watch me, baby. I'll let you rot in jail.
Novak, I'll make it $25,000 if you help me quiet this dame.
You would, Ben? Start out by quieting this.
Yeah, they were lousy shots. They both lived. That is, Venanti lived until he got a bad case of asthma in the San Quentin gas chamber. Skip got off with a flock of scars and some good advice from the judge to stay away from questionable characters. But advice is free, and Skip was the kind who went after the dough, so I see her now and then. She's gone honest, I think. Sometimes we toss dice, and I've known her to lose.
Heard on tonight's program were Ben Morris as Novak, John Galbraith as Inspector Hellman, Jack Lewis as Jocko, and Mary Milford as Skip, with Henry Leff, Jerry Walters, Kurt Martell, and Lucille Bliss. Special music by Otto Clare. Listen next week at this same time when over most of these stations, the American Broadcasting Company presents Pat Novak For Hire. This is ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.
The story you are about to hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all long cigarettes, brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to homicide detail. A confessed murderess is paroled from the state prison for women. After 7 months, the parole office loses contact with her. Your job, find her.
If you want a long cigarette, smoke the best of all long cigarettes. Smoke king-size Fatima. Fatima is the long cigarette which contains the finest Turkish and domestic tobaccos superbly blended to make Fatima extra mild. And that's why Fatima has a much different, much better flavor and aroma than any other long cigarette. That's why Fatima has more than doubled its smokers coast to coast. So, enjoy Fatima, the best of all long cigarettes.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Thursday, March 9th. It was foggy in Los Angeles. We were working a day watch out of homicide detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Thad Brown, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. We were on our way back from the State Building, and it was 2:45 p.m. when we got to the City Hall, room 29. Handwriting analysis. Want to have a seat, Fred?
Okay, thanks. I'll see if Don's around. Maybe in the back room.
All right.
Don Meyer. Don, you here?
Yeah, come in just a minute. Oh, hi, Ben.
Got a quick job for you, Don. Can you spare a few minutes?
Think so? Hi, Joe. Didn't see you.
I'd like to have you meet Fred Galloway, state parole. Fred, this is Don Myers, our handwriting man.
How are you?
Got a couple of signatures here. I'd like to have you check them now if you can.
No, I can try. Let's see what you got.
You want to show them, Fred?
Yeah. These 3 sheets here, Don, marked November, December, January. I'd like to know if the signatures on them compare with the signatures on these 2 here. They're marked February and March.
Let me see. Thanks. Yeah, well, this shouldn't take long. Why don't you fellas have a seat?
Yeah, okay.
How's this thing shape up, Fred? You figure that the Johnson woman's jumped her parole?
Got me. I don't know what to think.
How long's it been since you got out of prison?
Well, let me check you out on the details. I got the dope right here.
All right, fine.
Annie Marie Johnson. She was sent up for a life term, 1933. Murdered her husband, John. Shot him to death. Started appealing for parole 1940. Finally won it May 14th last year. Paroled into the custody of Mrs. Laura Jean Muller.
Mm-hmm. Where does this Mrs. Muller live?
Down Wilmington. Old friend of the Johnson woman. She fought for 10 years to get her released from Tehachapi.
Have you been in touch with Mrs. Muller lately, Fred?
Only by mail. We've been sending her monthly report forms all along. She's the person that Annie Johnson was paroled to, so the form has to be filled out, then signed by Mrs. Muller and mailed back to me.
Yeah, I know. And that's where you figured that something was wrong.
Well, we got the February and March reports back from her on time. All the usual questions answered properly. And it was the signature. Writing didn't look like Mrs. Muller's at all.
You think the Johnson woman is faking the signature?
Maybe. Tried to contact the Muller house 6 times the past couple of days. Nobody home.
Here you go, man.
You got it?
Yeah. Let me see. These 3 here, November, December, January, they were signed by the same person.
Yeah.
Signatures on the February and March reports. They're pretty bad imitations. One person signed these 2. Another person signed these. No match at all.
Well, then the signatures on the last 2 reports were forged.
I'd say so.
She went up for murder. That's your department. You want to run it down?
Sure.
What's it add up to?
Could be a lot of things. Could be nothing.
Annie Johnson ought to know. Ben and I checked out of the office and drove down to Wilmington. We located the home of Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Muller on Seaboard Drive, just off Anaheim Street. It was an old-fashioned 2-story house set back on a big corner lot along with plenty of shrubbery. It was a faded gray with lots of Victorian gingerbread hung all over it. Fancy carved gables, carriage driveway with hitching posts, and pieces of thick colored glass set in some kind of a design in the window of the front door. Out in the harbor beyond Terminal Island, you could hear the foghorns.
They sure get the fog out here, don't they?
It's pretty thick today. My aunt used to live just above here, Grant Avenue.
Oh, uh-huh.
Couldn't take the fog, so she moved out the valley.
Garden could stand some taking care of.
Yeah, weeds are doing fine. Want to try it again?
What do you think?
Let's try the neighbors, huh?
Yeah, all right. That house across the street must be somebody there. I saw a woman shaking a dust mop out the window when we drove up.
All right. Kind of a bleak-looking spot up here on the hill, isn't it? Not many houses around.
Yeah, and this fog's doing nothing for me. Chills you right down to the bone.
What's the name on the mailbox there?
Let's see. Miss Flora Carpenter.
Well, maybe she can tell us something.
Are
Are you the sewing machine man?
No, ma'am. We're police officers. Like to ask you a few questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you came about my singer.
No, ma'am.
I can't do any more work on my peasant skirt until the machine's fixed. And it has to be done by Saturday. Our folk dancing group's having a big jamboree Saturday night. Will you step inside?
Thank you. This is Sergeant Romero. My name's Friday.
Oh, how do you do? Oh, fog's so refreshing, isn't it? Very vitalizing.
Yes, ma'am. Are you acquainted with Mr. and Mrs. Muller across the street, Miss Carpenter?
The Muellers? Yes, I've known them for years.
And they have an Annie Johnson living with them?
Yes, one of my very good friends.
She's employed as a housemaid for the Mullers, is that right?
Well, I guess you could call it that. Actually, she's more of a companion to Mrs. Mueller since poor Mr. Mueller got sick.
What's his trouble?
His mind. Poor man just lost his senses. He's at the state hospital at Norwalk.
Mm-hmm. When did they send him there?
Let me see. This is March. It must have been last November. Yes, became violent.
Do you know where Mrs. Muller is now?
In the sanitarium out near Pasadena. Not well at all.
And Annie Johnson, is she still living at the Muller's house across the street?
Oh, yes. She went downtown to do some shopping today.
Did she say when she'd be back?
Well, no, she didn't, but we have a meeting of our book appreciation club at 8:30 tonight here at my house, and I certainly don't think she'd miss the meeting.
I see.
Miss Carpenter, do you happen to know the name of the sanitarium where Miss Muller's staying?
Garraway's. That's what Annie told me. Garraway's rest home out by Pasadena.
Mm-hmm. Have any of the neighbors been out to visit her?
Well, no, we haven't. Annie said the doctors there thought it'd be better if Mrs. Mueller didn't have visitors.
I see. Wonder if you'd tell us where we could find a public telephone in the neighborhood?
Oh, you can use my phone, Sergeant. It's right back there in the hall.
Fine, thank you.
I'll call them, Joe.
All right.
I'll have the operator charge it to our office.
You sure you can find your way back there, Sergeant? It's right under General Pershing's picture.
Yes, ma'am. No trouble.
I was just thinking, Sergeant Friday.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you know anything about repairing sewing machines?
No, I'm afraid not.
Oh. Well, Fluffy, there you are. This is Annie Johnson's cat, Sergeant. Isn't he simply gorgeous? Look at that fur.
Yes, ma'am. It's nice.
Genuine Persian. Annie brought him with her when she came to live with the Muellers.
Did Mrs. Johnson and Mrs. Muller always seem to get along fairly well together to you? I mean, no arguments?
Oh, my, no. Annie's the easiest person in the world to get along with. All us girls in the neighborhood just adore her.
Joe.
Did you talk to sanitarium?
Yeah, I double-checked the name.
Yeah?
Mrs. Muller's not there. They never heard of her.
Ben and I left and interviewed some of the other people in the neighborhood. They all had the same high opinion of Annie Johnson as Miss Carpenter did. They all had the impression that Mrs. Muller was under doctor's care at the Garraway Rest Home in Pasadena. Annie Johnson told them so. We found out that Mrs. Muller had one other living relative besides her husband, a niece, Lorraine Muller. She lived out on Norwich Drive in Beverly Hills. 5:30 p.m., Ben and I drove back to the office and made a spot check of every private rest home and sanitarium listed in the Los Angeles area. Mrs. Muller wasn't at any of them. We called the state hospital at Norwalk, and they informed us that Joseph Muller was there, having been committed the 2nd of November the previous year. He was critically ill. We put in another call to the Muller home. Still no answer. 6:15 p.m., we drove out to Beverly Hills to the home of Mrs. Muller's niece, Lorraine. She was a tall, good-looking girl with blonde hair and a bad cough.
I don't think I can help you, Sergeant. I moved out of my aunt's house 3 months ago. I haven't seen her since.
Oh, were you staying at the house when Annie Johnson came to live there?
I was raised in that house. Mother and Dad died when I was a baby, and Uncle Joe and Aunt Laura took care of me. They're wonderful people.
Would you mind telling us why you moved?
I don't mind. Everything was fine until Annie Johnson came. I didn't get along with her. We fought all the time.
Oh, is that so?
I don't know why. I just didn't like her. When Annie moved in, she took over the whole house.
Oh, what's the connection between your aunt and Mrs. Johnson? Any blood relationship there?
No. Annie was a school chum of Aunt Laura's. When they sent her to prison for killing her husband, she wrote for help.
And your aunt helped her?
She worked for 11 years at it. I don't know how much money she spent. Lawyers, you know.
Yeah.
She finally got Annie parole.
And then she took Mrs. Johnson on as a housekeeper, is that right?
Yeah, but she never did any work. She acted like she owned the house. Like my aunt and uncle owed her everything they'd done for her.
When's the last time you heard from your aunt?
It was a few months ago, around Christmas time. I called her up to wish her a Merry Christmas.
You have no idea where Mrs. Muller might be now? Some friends that she could be staying with, maybe?
No. Aunt Laura only has a few friends. They all live in the neighborhood.
She's not in the habit of going off without telling anyone, is she?
No, never anything like that. I don't understand it. Something must be wrong. Annie, do you think she's done something?
Do you?
No, she couldn't have. She owes everything to Aunt Laura. Her freedom, a good home, nice clothes, money. Everything my aunt could give her.
Some people are like that. If it's free, they never get too much. Before we left Lorraine Muller's house, we got the name of her aunt's lawyer. We had dinner at a lunch counter on La Cienega, and then we drove back to Wilmington to the Muller house. Lights were burning in the front windows. The fog was thick now.
Guess that's her singing.
Yeah. You want to ring the bell?
Mm-hmm. Can you see in through the curtains, Joe?
Yeah, she didn't hear it. Let's ring it again. Hey, here she comes.
Yes?
Are you Mrs. Johnson?
Yes, that's right. What is it?
Police officers, our identification.
Oh. Yes, won't you come in?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
We'll go in the parlor, shall we?
All right.
No.
We're February and March.
Yes?
We think the signatures on those two reports are forged.
Oh, those.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. I don't know what to say. I really didn't think it was that serious. I knew the reports had to be sent in.
Did you sign Mrs. Muller's name on them?
Well, yes, I did. You see, Laura Muller's at a sanitarium now, resting up.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to bother her with all this business, so I signed them and put them in the mail. But forgery, I didn't think it was that serious.
Mm-hmm. Which sanitarium is Mrs. Muller staying at?
Garraway's. A very nice place. It's near Pasadena. She's been there about 2 months now.
Have you been out to visit her yet?
No, I haven't. I'm a little ashamed of myself. I've just been too busy keeping up the house here. It's lots of work.
Yes, I understand. I suppose you drove Mrs. Muller to the sanitarium.
As a matter of fact, I didn't. You see, we don't have a car, so she took a taxi cab.
Have you telephoned Mrs. Muller at the sanitarium?
Yes, just once the day she went in. She's there for a good rest. I don't feel that anyone should bother her. Not even myself.
Does she have any other relatives? Besides her husband, that is.
None at all. Poor Mr. Muller. We had to send him away, to Warwick State Hospital.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
It got out of hand. Just terrible. He almost murdered poor Laura once, and those were awful days. He's much better off where he is.
Yeah, it's too bad. Well, that's about all, Miss Johnson.
Oh, here. Let me show you to the door.
Thanks. You'd better contact your parole officer the first thing in the morning and clear up this matter of the reports.
I'll do that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Good night, Miss Johnson. Thanks again.
All right. Good night.
What time you got?
20 minutes after 8. The light just went on in the attic.
Yeah.
What do you think?
We better go take a look around.
What do you think we'll find?
I don't know. Maybe a reason for some of those lies she told us. 8:35 p.m. Annie Johnson left the house and crossed the street to Miss Carpenter's place. In the Muller house, in a small desk in one of the rear bedrooms on the first floor, we found a file for Mrs. Muller's business papers. In the file, we located 3 of her insurance policies. There was one for $5,000 and 2 for $3,500. Each policy had a rider attached, changing the beneficiary from Joseph Muller, the husband, to Annie Johnson.
$12,000 worth of insurance.
Yeah, let's get them back in this folder. Did you get the policy numbers?
Yeah. What's this?
Let's see. Phone bill. Light bill. Here's one.
Labor bill. $1 an hour paid to Tom McCrae, charged to Annie Johnson.
Uh-huh. Let's go.
Yeah, I want to get this address here. Tom McCrae, East Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
There's her cat.
Yeah, let's go see what we can find upstairs, huh?
It's a pretty cat.
We went upstairs to the second floor of the house and searched the rooms. We went up another flight of stairs to the attic. For a full half hour, we searched through dozens of corrugated cartons crammed with souvenirs and picture postcards.
Joe, come here.
Yeah.
Take a look. Wrapped in newspaper.
3220 Colt.
3 empty cartridges.
We got a gun and we got a suspect.
Those insurance policies could be the motive.
Let's pray to God there's no victim.
You are listening to Dragnet for the step-by-step solution to an actual police case. Here, step-by-step, are the reasons why Fatima has more than doubled its smokers from coast to coast.
Step 1.
The name Fatima has always stood for the best in cigarette quality.
Step 2.
Long cigarette smokers discover Fatima has a much different, much better flavor and aroma.
Step 3.
Long cigarette smokers find Fatima extra mild. Fatima is the long cigarette which contains the finest Turkish and domestic tobaccos superbly blended to make Fatima extra mild.
And that's why more and more smokers every day agree
it's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
Yes, the name Fatima on that golden yellow package is your insurance of an extra mild smoke.
So enjoy king-size Fatima, the best of all long cigarettes.
10 p.m. An immediate stakeout was placed on the Muller residence in case Annie Johnson made an attempt to leave during the night. Ben and I took the gun that we'd found to the crime lab for analysis. The next morning, we checked with the Muller's family attorney. He had no idea as to the whereabouts of Mrs. Muller, but he told us that about 3 months ago, she'd ordered him to draw up a new will for her. Under the new provisions, Annie Johnson was to be the sole heir of the Muller house and property, plus an additional $1,500 in bonds. Friday, March 10th, 11 a.m. While Ben checked with the insurance company, I met with Captain Elliott of Homicide.
You got everything but a victim, huh? Where are you looking?
We'd like to shake down the Muller house again before we look anyplace else. Didn't have a chance to give it a thorough going over last night.
You're sold on the idea it's a Johnson woman?
Looks like it.
Sure it couldn't be a freak disappearance?
No, sir, not in my book. Annie Johnson's got some big reasons for lying to us. I'd like to find them.
How do you figure on doing that?
Well, if we could pull her in and question her, just to get her away from the Muller place, I'd like to take a detail of men out there and shake the house from top to bottom.
Just checked with the insurance companies that issued Miss Muller's policies.
Yeah.
And we got it right. Annie Johnson gets the dough if Mrs. Muller dies.
Oh.
Something else. The changes in the policies were made during the last 2 months at her home. It doesn't jive. Why not?
Well, Annie Johnson told us that Mrs. Muller's been in the sanitarium for more than 2 months.
Here's a capper, Joe.
What's that?
Gil and Cenas went out to State Hospital at Norwalk to talk to Mr. Muller.
Yeah?
Joseph Muller died at 8 o'clock last night. Death from natural causes.
What's that prove?
Wait a minute. When Joseph Muller was committed to the institution, Annie Johnson figured prominently in that commitment. She had a lot to do with sending him away.
Didn't take any chances, did she?
Annie Johnson is left with the house, the bonds, and the insurance money. She had all the answers.
Yeah, all but the right one.
While Captain Elliott called in Annie Johnson and questioned her, Ben and I, together with a detail of men from Homicide and Lieutenant Lee Jones from the crime lab, drove out to Wilmington and started a thorough search of the Muller house. We took it floor by floor, starting with the attic. By 4 o'clock that afternoon, we had searched the attic and the second floor completely without finding any additional physical evidence. 5:30 p.m., still nothing. The fog was coming in thick now. Captain Elliott called and said the Johnson woman was on her way home. The search went on.
Anyone checked the cellar yet?
Let's give it a look, huh?
Okay. Joe, come on down. Leave with me. We're checking some stains.
What do you got, Lee?
Picked up this line of stains here, Joe. They run down from the top of the stairs. Pretty faint.
Let me see. Mm-hmm.
So a few drops of benzodine, see what happens.
Okay. Let's have a look around, Gil, see what we can find.
There's no lights down here. You'll have to use your flash.
I go on.
Not much of anything, is it?
I guess they use the attic for their storage place.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Put the light over this way, will you, Gil? No, in the corner. That's it.
See something?
I don't know. Yeah, have a look here.
New patch of cement. Looks pretty new alongside the rest.
Yeah.
There's a sledge and a couple of shovels back in the garage.
Get them, will you?
Yeah.
Joe.
Yeah.
Eggs turned blue. It's blood.
Lee Jones took some sample scrapings and went back to the crime lab to give them a precipitant test to determine if the stains were made by human or animal blood. We broke away the patch of new cement work in the cellar and we began digging. 6:30 p.m. Annie Johnson came home. We met her in the living room.
Sergeant, I wonder if you'd mind explaining this intrusion.
No, not at all. Will you sit down?
I believe I'm the one to offer hospitality here. It's my house.
Is it, Miss Johnson?
Well, it's in my charge. It's my responsibility.
Yes, ma'am, it is. We'd just like to clear up a few things, that's all.
I think the police department's taken up enough of my time. I spent half the day at the city hall answering silly questions. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have an appointment at the beauty shop at 7 o'clock.
Maybe you better cancel it.
I don't see any reason why I should. What is that noise? It's coming from the cellar. Someone's down there.
They're police officers, Miss Johnson. We're searching the house.
Searching this house? With whose permission?
Maybe they didn't make it clear to you downtown. We've got a good reason to believe that a crime's been committed.
Why?
Mrs. Muller. She's missing.
I told your Captain Elliott this afternoon. Laura could have left the sanitarium. She might have gone east to visit some friends. In Cincinnati, I think. She has some friends in Cincinnati.
How could Mrs. Muller leave the sanitarium? She was never there.
Maybe she didn't stay at Garraway's. Could have been another rest home.
But she said you phoned her at Garraway's. You said you talked to her there.
Those men downstairs, they're going to dig up the whole house?
That's right.
This bill, Mrs. Johnson, would you mind telling us what it was for?
Well, there was a section of the cellar floor. It had never been cemented. I decided to have it done while Laura was away.
The men are digging it up, Miss Johnson.
Well, why are they digging it up? What right have they?
Investigation. We'll see that the cement work is redone when we're finished.
This is impossible. I forbid it. This house is my responsibility.
No need to worry. Everything will be left exactly the way it was. We'll leave the house as soon as the men are finished.
Oh. Well, then perhaps I can keep my appointment with the hairdresser. I won't be long. She'll be back around 9.
I'm sorry. I think you better stay.
But I've told you everything I know.
Did you kill Laura Muller?
Did I kill... I can't take any more of this. Why would I want to kill Laura? She's done everything for me. She's given me new life.
Did you kill her?
I know, of course I didn't kill her.
No, and there's no need to be upset.
Oh, my nerves. I got to have something. Glass of sherry. Yes. Ziggy, how long is it going to take them?
That all depends, ma'am.
There's no reason for this. You don't know that anything's happened to Laura.
That's right.
Laura's the best friend I have in the world. 11 years. That's how long she fought to make them let me out of prison. She's the only one who believed in me.
Yes, ma'am.
She is. She's given me everything. She wants me to have everything. Everything I want. I wouldn't have a reason for killing her. Why, my clothes, my home here, money. They're all Laura's. She's given them to me. Would you like a glass of sherry, Sergeant Crowdy?
No, thanks.
You know, Laura was much older than I, Sergeant. She could have taken her own life. She didn't have much to live for. Old and sick. But I got everything to live for. Laura used to tell me that. So she gave me everything. Laura was much older than I. Would you care for a glass of sherry, Sergeant Romero?
No, thank you.
This whole thing's so silly. Laura's away on a trip. She's much older than I am, you know. I'm 38. You wouldn't take me for a woman 38 years old, would you, Sergeant?
No, ma'am.
I know I'm not really young anymore, but I'm still attractive, don't you think? A lot of men prefer mature women. Women with experience, background. I'd know how to take care of a man.
Joe.
Yeah.
Joe, come here, my way.
Yeah?
We found her.
Laura, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it.
she wanted to die.
Call the coroner, Gil.
Let's go, Miss Johnson.
Laura wouldn't want this. She knows I didn't mean it. She's the only one who knows what I went through. Years in prison. Laura understood me. She gave me everything.
Yes, she did.
Ask anybody. They all know how Laura felt about me. Ask anybody.
We can't ask her.
The story you have just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
On July 14th, trial was held in Superior Court, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
It's amazing how many long cigarette smokers are changing to Fatima. Here is the actual report.
From coast to coast, king-size Fatima has more than doubled its smokers.
Yes, more and more smokers every day are discovering that Fatima is the best of all long cigarettes.
Long cigarette smokers find Fatima has a much different, much better flavor and aroma.
Long cigarette smokers find that Fatima is extra mild because it's the long cigarette which contains the finest Turkish and domestic tobaccos superbly blended to make it extra mild.
So enjoy extra mild Fatima. Best of all long cigarettes.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
Annie Marie Johnson was tried and convicted of murder in the first degree. She was executed in the lethal gas chamber at the state penitentiary, San Quentin, California. You have just heard Dragnet, authentic cases from official files. Technical advice for Dragnet comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.A. Wharton, Los Angeles Police Department.
Dragnet wishes to thank the editors of Radio Television Life magazine. They have judged Dragnet the outstanding new program of the past radio season.
Fatima Cigarettes, the best of all long cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet from Los Angeles.
Tomorrow, hear the Ronald Coleman's charming series, The Halls of Ivy, on NBC. The story you are about to hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all long cigarettes, brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to robbery detail. 4 young hoodlums wanted for a series of robberies are headed for your city. They're armed, reckless, cold-blooded. Your job, get 'em.
If you want a long cigarette, smoke the best of all long cigarettes. Smoke king-size Fatima. Fatima is the long cigarette which contains the finest Turkish and domestic tobaccos superbly blended to make Fatima extra mild. And that's why Fatima has a much different, much better flavor and aroma than any other long cigarette. That's why Fatima has more than doubled its smokers coast to coast. So, enjoy Fatima, the best of all long cigarettes.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Friday, December 10th. It was cold in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of robbery detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Thad Brown, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. It was 7:55 a.m. when I got to room 27A, robbery detail. Morning.
Hi, Joe.
Morning. Hi, Joe. Cold out, isn't it?
Frank, what are you doing here this early? Can't you sleep?
I'm waiting for something. Special delivery letter from my brother.
Went up in Frisco with the police department?
Yeah. Only up there they don't like it when you call it Frisco.
Yeah.
He's in robbery detail. Called him last night. All three kids had their tonsils out the same day. Thought it'd be nice to call, see how they were.
All three at once?
Yeah.
Tonsils are nothing these days.
How'd they make out?
Good. Home already.
What's the letter got to do with it?
Oh, well, my brother told me he was sending down some dope on 4 pretty rough characters. Thinks they're headed our way. Sending mugshots, too.
You and your brother running a detective agency on the side?
It's a little irregular. The official correspondence will come a little later.
What do you know about the guys?
Almost killed a man. I didn't get any details. It's all in the letter. Ought to be here any minute. Mailed it at noon yesterday.
How come you moved down here with your family, Frank? Don't you like it up north?
Well, like L.A. better. More elbow room. Here you live in a house and lot, not just an apartment.
I get it. Robbery, Friday.
This is Wilson. Tony Shop is there, Joe?
No, I think so. Hold it, will you? Tony here?
Huh?
Oh, I didn't see you behind that paper.
For me?
Yeah, he's here.
Well, if he's not busy, ask him to come over to order that. Especially a couple of Mexican girls. Can't speak English.
I guess we can spare him for a while. I'll tell him.
What's up?
Well, that's Wilson in auto detail. He'd like you to go over and act as interpreter for a couple of Mexican girls.
Are they pretty?
You're not going down there to marry him.
I'll bet you wow I'm at parties.
Yes. Nothing much doing. Slow day. They don't come often enough for me.
If they did, we'd be out of a job. It was one of those rare slow days. We killed a couple of hours going over the daily reports, cleaned out the top drawer of my desk, sharpened a few pencils. At 10:15 a.m., the special delivery letter came for Frank. He slit the top open with his pocket knife and shook out 4 mugshots.
Here it is. Following 4 men wanted for robberies, auto thefts, and safe burglaries in San Francisco Bay Area. Cliff Small, 19. George Shum, 20. Both escaped from Preston. Julius Carver, 18. Fred Malik, 20. Both Army deserters.
Well, that checks out with that APB from SF last week.
What do the records look like?
Small shot an Army captain during an argument at a bar. On 2 capers, these men shot it out with us and escaped. Information shows all 4 left for Los Angeles several days ago. Driving stolen car, blue Chevrolet, probably using cold plates.
Let me see those mugshots.
Here.
Well, now we know who we're looking for. Brother, tell us where?
Just a couple of nice girls that got mixed up with the wrong guys.
Hey, take a look at these pictures, will you, Tony?
Oh, the mugs from San Francisco.
Yeah. It says they're in a stolen car, cold plates.
That's how these girls were picked up, in a hot car.
Huh?
They went for a ride with a couple of guys they met at a movie. When the car ran out of gas, the boys dug, the girls got picked up.
Do they have a lead on the guy?
No, not a thing.
The young guys?
Around 20. You think these might be the ones from Frisco?
Well, let's talk to the girls. Come on. Frank, you want to cover the office?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Do they speak English at all?
Not enough to make sense. That's Dolores, and this one is Marie.
Wednesday.
Señoritas, estos señores son empleados del robbery detail. Desean hacer a ustedes algunas preguntas.
Nosotras no hicimos nada.
Nada.
She says they didn't do anything.
I suppose they told you all they know already, huh?
They're not much help. They say they don't know anything about the fellows they were with.
Show them these. Ask them if they've ever seen them before.
Yeah. ¿Conocen estos individuos?
Sí. Estos son los muchachos.
Sí. Sí.
These are the guys that took them out last night?
Ask them.
¿Quieren decir que estos dos son los que las llevaron anoche?
Sí, ellos son.
Carver and Malik, the Army deserters. Ask them to describe them, will you?
¿Cómo eran los muchachos?
Ya les dijimos. Estuvimos en el carro todo el tiempo y estaba oscuro. Pero parecían muy guapos y hablaban bien.
She says they sat in the car all the time. It was dark. But they looked very handsome and they talked nice.
Where did the fellas pick him up?
They told me in front of the Jubilee Theater, 2nd and Broadway.
Yeah. And then what?
The girls couldn't understand English, but they understood when the boys motioned them to hop in. ¿Han aceptado ustedes paseos con extraños antes?
Por supuesto que no. María creo haberlos visto en la iglesia el domingo.
She says no. Marie thought she recognized them from church Sunday.
Pero estaba equivocada.
But she was mistaken.
Must have been some date. The boys couldn't talk Spanish and the girls couldn't talk English.
Where'd they go on this ride, Tony?
They don't know the streets. They just know they got to the beach, and then they turned around and were about halfway back when the car ran out of gas.
Ask them again. See if you can get Marie here to talk.
María.
Sí.
¿Qué camino tomaron para ir a la playa?
Yo no sé.
Ay, María. Primero, paramos cerca de un hotelito. Esperamos mientras los muchachos llevaron a un perrito y lo dejaron en su cuarto.
She doesn't know, but she remembers they stopped near a little hotel. The girls waited while the boys took a little puppy out of their car and put it in their room.
A puppy?
Well, if they don't know where the hotel was, maybe they can tell us what it was near.
¿Qué edificios había cerca del hotel?
En la esquina había una estación de gasolina.
She says there was a gas station on the corner.
What else?
¿Qué más?
Del otro lado de los rieles había 2 o 3 garajes.
2 o 3?
Creo que sí, 2 o 3.
She says across the car tracks there were 2 or 3 big garages.
Yeah.
Could be in the Westlake district. Lots of garages and second-rate hotels around there.
Or East 1st Street?
Maybe Grand Avenue and Pico.
Pico! Pico! Ahora me acuerdo. Esta calle era Pico.
We took the girls with us and drove out to Grand and Pico, and then up and down Pico slow until the girls pointed out a hotel just south of Flower. They weren't sure. Ben and I got out. We walked up to the hotel desk. The clerk was just starting to vacuum.
We're looking for Julius Carver and Fred Malik. Are they staying here?
What's the names? Can't hear you over the vacuum.
Julius Carver and Fred Malik?
No, not here.
Police officers. You take a look at these pictures?
Well, could have been 2 of the boys that checked out this morning, but they didn't look as tough as this.
How many were there?
4.
Here are 2 more pictures. Will you have a look, please?
Could be. About the right age.
How long did they stay?
Just 2 nights.
Did they have a pup with them?
What?
I said they have a pup with them.
Puppy dog? Yes, they did. Yes, sir. A little collie pup.
Did they pay up?
No, they skipped out, owing me 2 days.
Can we see how they registered, please?
Shut off this dang vacuum. Person can't hardly hear himself think over that racket. Now, you want to see the register. We use cards here.
All right, sir.
Let me see. Now, here they are. Bob Reynolds, Jack Sharp, Jim Smith, and William Grant, Las Vegas, Nevada.
I must have picked those names out of a hat.
They say where they were going?
No forwarding address.
Did they write these cards out themselves?
You bet they did. That's the law.
You mind if we borrow them for a while? We'll have them photostated and returned to you.
We're supposed to keep them, you know.
You'll get them back.
I like to do everything legal. Those boys in some kind of trouble?
They leave anything in their room?
They did. It's all in the vacuum.
If they happen to come back, give us a ring, will you? Here's our card.
Robbery detail. Who'd they rob?
They took you for 2 days' rent. It was 2 p.m. when Tony Chavez picked us up. He had Frank O'Donnell with him. We stopped at a dairy lunch, and I called the office, and we split up into 2 teams. While Tony and Frank checked parking lots in the neighborhood for stolen cars, Ben and I ran down the other hotels. In the next 3 hours, we talked to a dozen desk clerks and rooming house managers. Always the same answer, no. 5:30 p.m., we tried the Achilles Hotel on Grand Avenue. We walked into an overheated lobby crowded with modern furniture. There were a couple of canary cages in front of the faded wall tapestries. The desk clerk was a woman in her early 40s.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Police officer.
Police officer. Walter, will you see what these policemen want?
Well, just take a minute. We'd like to know if you recognize these pictures here.
No.
This one?
No, we only take in honest, hard-working men.
Sure.
Don't like anybody lazing around the rooms all day. Keeps me from cleaning up.
If your room has got a collie pup.
A dog? I'd die before I'd allow a dog in this house.
Well, if these fellows with a dog try to rent a room, would you please phone us? Here's the number.
Millie. Now, get on back in there, honey, where it's nice and warm. Go on, Millie. Go Millie's on the nest now.
Yes, ma'am. We'd appreciate you watching for these men.
For your own protection, too.
No, I'll let you know.
Thank you, ma'am. Let's go
Oh,
back.
say, before you go, would you gentlemen do me a favor seeing as how you're policemen?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Marinelli up in room 14's a week behind in his rent. Would you do me a favor and go up and talk to him?
I'm sorry, lady. We can't handle that. That's a civil matter. I'd advise you to go to room 260 down at the city hall. See the city attorney. They'll help you.
Walter, what'd I tell you? They won't do it.
That's the way it went. It was dark out now and getting cold again. We walked back to Pico and Flower to pick up Frank and Tony. Tony was there waiting for us.
Hi. Come on up to the next corner. Frank's up there. We got a hot car staked out.
Yeah?
Just half a block from the hotel where the guys checked out. You had any luck?
No. Did you find anything in the car?
Key's still in it, nothing else.
Well, they could have stolen it last night after they left the girls, huh?
I called in and checked. It was taken in front of 1192 Doheny Drive between 2 and 4 this morning. We got out a code for it.
Mm-hmm. That's about 6 blocks from where they ditched the car with the girls in it.
Yeah, we're out of gas. It's all downhill. Would have been a natural way for them to go.
Could be the right car. Better keep the stake out.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Frank.
Hi. You do any good?
No.
Frank, you and Tony want to go eat, and Ben and I'll cover the car. When you get back, we'll go for chow.
Good deal.
Swell.
So long. Well, let's sit in the car, huh?
Yeah, all right.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Get the radio on.
Want a cigarette?
No. What do you think?
I don't know. Maybe it's the same guys, maybe not.
Same neighborhood. A couple of things might tie in. Yeah, can't be sure.
We're really making headway. About all we know is they're in town.
Yeah, and it's a good-sized town.
Right now, it's the biggest in the world. 7 p.m. We knew the 4 gunmen were in town. We knew they'd been seen. We figured there was no reason for them to skip town until they pulled a job or heard that we were looking for them. Time was in their favor. Time to rob, time to kill, time to get away. The check on the hotels continued. We left Frank O'Donnell and Tony Chavez on the stakeout, and Ben and I picked up the hotel routine. One place after another. 8:30 p.m. We walked down a long, narrow lobby to a little bald-headed man at the desk. He was wearing glasses and reading a magazine called Astrology. When we walked in, he tried to hide the bottle.
Police officer.
Oh, would you take a look at these pictures, please?
What for?
See if you can identify them.
No, they don't look familiar to me.
They may be carrying a collie pup.
Collie pup? Let me see those pictures again.
All right. They look familiar now?
They had a pup with them, all right. Yes, I think so. I study faces. Yes, the same.
Are they here?
I don't know.
Mean they're out for the evening?
I don't know.
Are they registered here?
Yes, they are.
What room?
Are they expecting you?
Now, listen. This is important. Just answer the questions.
What did they do?
What's their room number?
2nd floor, room 22.
Do you have the key?
Just a sec.
Here, thank you. Come on, Ben. Cover me, huh?
Yeah.
22. Give me the key. Better watch it. Well, maybe we're home.
Clothes, shoes, all our stuff's here.
They'll be back.
You are listening to Dragnet for the step-by-step solution to an actual police case. Here, step-by-step, are the reasons why Fatima has more than doubled its smokers from coast to coast.
Step 1. The name Fatima has always stood for the best in cigarette quality. Step 2. Long cigarette smokers discover Fatima has a much different, much better flavor and aroma. Step 3. Long cigarette smokers find Fatima extra mild. Fatima is the long cigarette which contains the finest Turkish and domestic tobaccos superbly blended to make Fatima extra mild.
And that's why more and more smokers every day agree
it's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
Yes, the name Fatima on that gold and yellow package is your insurance of an extra mild smoke.
So enjoy king-size Fatima, the best of all long cigarettes.
In the files of the Los Angeles Police Department, there are countless case histories that never got space in the daily newspapers. The case of Cliff Small, George Shum, Julius Carver, and Fred Malik was one of these. 4 young hoodlums wanted for a series of robberies and petty burglaries. These men were armed, and they'd shown that they wouldn't hesitate to shoot. By comparison with the sensational crime headline, the news value of this story rated an inch of type on the 4th page of the 2nd section. Yet the line separating these 4 young thieves from banner headlines and back page space is much thinner than the average citizen realizes. The danger in a criminal case isn't always determined by the space allotted to it in the newspapers. Many a peace officer's name has appeared in the obituary column of the same newspaper that allotted 1 inch of back page space to the crime story that was considered unimportant. I phoned the office and asked for 2 men to cover the stolen car. As soon as the replacements arrived, Frank O'Donnell and Tony Chavez left the stakeout on the stolen car and joined us at the hotel. It was 8:55 p.m.
Well, when do they due back? Any idea?
No, sir. I told these other officers. I did tell you, didn't I?
Yeah, you said they were out for the evening.
That's it. I knew I told you something. Was it you two? Or was it you two?
It was this fella and I.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember things I say so good, but I know faces, things.
Are you the manager here?
Oh, no. This place belongs to Claude.
Claude who?
Tinney.
Then you're in charge now.
Only when Claude's not around. This is one of his places.
Where are we going to stake out, Joe? Not enough room to turn around in this lobby.
That's what I've been telling Claude. Claude Tinney. This is one of his places.
Yeah, maybe you better leave that bottle alone till we get this straightened out, huh?
Oh, no, I don't hit it heavy anymore. Just a little nip now and again. Drafty in here.
Any idea where we can wait for these fellas and keep an eye on the lobby?
No, not enough room in this lobby to turn around in. I've said that to Claude.
Yeah, we know.
Hey, clerk, where does this door lead to?
No, don't go in there.
There's a light in here?
I save old bottles. Ragman gives me a penny each for them.
Is that a storage room?
What's that?
That room over there.
Oh, that's the linen room. We keep all the linen there.
That's about the only place there is, Joe. If we want to wait out in the car.
All right, we'll wait in there.
There's a couple of chairs in there. I'll send the boys back when they come in.
Be better if you tell them nothing.
How are they going to know you're here?
We'll tell them. You just don't say anything.
All right, sir. Now then, if I can just have your names, I'll see that the boys get the message.
Now, look, mister. You just sit there and read your magazine. Don't say anything. You got that?
Okay. That's the way you want it.
Come on, let's go. What's that smell in here?
Bleach, I think.
Strong.
What time is it?
Can't see.
Frank, you got a luminous watch.
9:28.
Evening, Mac.
Evening, Mr. Sweeney.
Give me an 8 o'clock call.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Good night.
That smell's giving me a headache. Air's bad in here.
Yeah.
Is there anything I can get you, gentlemen?
No, you just stay at the desk, will you, please?
Say, Claude Tinney's his name. He's the manager. Remember you asked me about that?
Yeah, we know.
What do you want him for?
Look, you're going to have to stay away from this door. We don't want them to know we're here.
Okay. That's the way you want it.
I could use a cigarette.
Yeah.
All we need in here now. Smoke.
What time is it, Frank?
Oh,
Never mind. That's it. There's 2 of them. Ben, you come with me. Frank, Tony, stay here.
Right.
All right. We're checking out tomorrow.
It's Carver and Malik. Let's go, Ben.
Yeah, come on.
All right, get your hands up.
Hey, what's going on?
Stand still.
Okay. What's the beef?
Frisk 'em.
Mm-hmm. There's a .380 automatic on Carver. 38 caliber revolver in this hip pocket. Another 38 on Malik.
I'll hold it.
That's it. Put out your hand. Let me have your cuffs, Joe.
Here you go. Where are your pals?
What pals?
Cliff Small and George Shum. We know you're running with them.
You know that? You know where they are?
How old are you?
18.
What's your name?
Fred Malik. I'm 20.
Tony.
Yeah.
You and Frank want to take them downtown?
Right. We'll see you down there. Let's go, Frank.
Say, you got him, huh?
Got 2 of them. We're going to wait for the other 2 now. You just play it straight and stay away from that linen room.
How long you going to be in there? Chambermaid starts making up the beds around 7 a.m. You'll have to be getting out that linen in there.
It's only 10:30. Lots of time.
We change the sheets 3 times a week in this hotel.
Not a worry in the world.
Let's get back in there.
I know what that smell is in here. Lysol.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that pup.
That'll be the tip-off.
I'll go get him. All right, come on, little fella. Here we go. Come on, boy.
He's hungry, Joe.
Yeah. Look, I'll put him down on the floor. Don't step on him. Yeah, what do you want?
Are you going to wait for the other 2 boys?
Yeah, will you get away from the door?
Say, I want to help you all I can.
Yeah.
That fuzzy little pup of theirs, he's running all around the lobby.
Yeah, we've got him in here.
Yeah, you better go out there and get him. He's barking. It'll tip him off.
Yeah, all right. Now go on back to the desk.
All right, then. You stay in here. I'll see if I can catch him.
He comes around here again, he'll have to wait in here.
Let me see your watch.
Hmm?
Must be around 11.
Yeah, must be.
That's that clerk again.
Yeah. Say, listen. I've been all over the lobby. You fellas are in the clear.
What do you mean?
That dog of theirs. He's gone. You're in the clear.
Look, he's in here with us. Now, will you stay away from here, please?
Yeah, it's okay. The dog's gone.
Hey, Pop, give me the key for room 22.
Yes, sir.
That's their room. Come on.
Yeah. Get your hands up. Watch him, Joe.
Wait a minute, you.
You hold it.
Get your hands
Come
up,
on,
please.
get your hands up.
Stop. Oh. You didn't have to slap me.
You didn't have to pull that gun. All right, now over here. Stand still. 38 revolver on this one. Here it is, 45 Colt. What's your names?
I'm Cliff Small. He's George Shum.
How old are you?
19. Cops?
We weren't. You've been in a lot more trouble than you are.
That's all of them.
Yeah. Now let's feed that pup. 12:15 a.m. We took the prisoners down to the city hall to the interrogation room. Tony Chavez and Frank O'Donnell were there with the other 2, Carver and Malik. While Ben helped question the suspects and made out the necessary reports, I went across the street to the Federal Cafe. I picked up 2 10-cent bottles of milk and a few slices of bread.
Look at him go. He was hungry.
Yeah. How'd you come out?
Well, I got it all here. Let's see. 4 stolen cars, 8 known robberies in San Francisco they copped out to. 3 jobs in Portland they admitted. You remember that Bakersfield liquor store hold up about 4 weeks ago?
A Watson job? They pull that?
Yeah, probably a lot more. They haven't told us all of it yet.
Got out an APB. We'll probably get a lot more wants on them.
Well, that's it. None of them are even old enough to vote yet, but they've committed practically every crime in the book.
Just one thing more left to work out. What do we do with the pup?
How about the SPCA? They'll find a home for him.
No, not this little guy.
Why don't you take him, Tony? You got kids.
You got a deal.
Aquí, Perito.
Tu madre era cole, pero de hoy en adelante eres perro policía. Translation. Your mother was a collie, but from now on you're a police dog.
The story you have just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
On February 9th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 88, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
It's amazing how many long cigarette smokers are changing to Fatima. Here is the actual report.
From coast to coast, king-size Fatima has more than doubled its smokers.
Yes, more and more smokers every day are discovering that Fatima is the best of all long cigarettes.
Long cigarette smokers find Fatima has a much different, much better flavor and aroma.
Long cigarette smokers find that Fatima is extra mild because it's the long cigarette which contains the finest Turkish and domestic tobaccos superbly blended to make it extra mild.
So enjoy extra mild Fatima. Best of all long cigarettes.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
Clifford Small, George Shum, Julius Carver, and Fred Malik were released to San Francisco authorities where they were tried and convicted on 8 counts of robbery in the first degree. A hold was placed on them by the state of Oregon. They are now serving their terms in the state penitentiary. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice for Dragnet comes from the Office of Chief of Police, W.A. Wharton, Los Angeles Police Department.
Fatima Cigarettes, the best of all long cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet from Los Angeles.
Tomorrow, hear the Ronald Coleman's charming series, The Halls of Ivy, on NBC.